rose of the ashes, the spirits light up the night, looking down.
Now, from the Untold Radio Network, it's Untold Radio AM with Doug and Alex Hajicek.
Hello, everybody. Once again, we are back.
Hello.
We're just like taxes. We're always there. We're back. Anyhow, hello, everybody. Welcome to Untold Radio. Hello, Alex. And, of course, our secondary family in chat and our live audience. We have a cool show, I think, planned tonight. Don't we?
Yes, we do.
Two new little mini segments tonight that we've added.
Yes, it's going to be packed.
Packed? Yeah, I know. Probably too packed. We have our amazing guest, Mel. And I don't really know how to pronounce his name, but I'm going to think it's Skahan.
I think that's right. Well, we'll get him to set us straight.
You never know. That's supposed to be your job.
I know, I'm doing a terrible job. Terrible.
Skahan, I believe is his name. Anyhow, Mel is an amazing man from the Yakama area. We're going to discuss our favorite topic, Bigfoot, tonight. His many encounters. We'll dig a little deeper than anybody else digs, won't we?
Yes, we will. We will go deep.
Deep. And then we've got a new debut of a new section of Untold Radio called 5 Minute Witness. And we, it's kind of where you have to kind of cram in your encounter, even though the encounter may have, there's a lot of details that build up to it. We want to just get to the meat and potatoes and play that. So we're also looking for new people. Please let us know in chat if you have any kind of encounter story. It can be with anything. It doesn't have to be with Bigfoot. Could be Dogman, could be Mothman, could be a ghost, could be a who knows what entity. Anything. But we'd like to hear it. So let us know. We need volunteers. And you don't have to go on camera. It's just audio.
It's audio.
And we can just use your first name.
Yep. First name. Anonymous.
Anonymous, yeah.
You could be completely anonymous.
You don't even need. We could even lie about the first name.
Yeah, you can be a Chet.
Your name could be Dave, and we'll call you Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or we can use your first and last name, whatever you want. But first, I do want to talk and pause to remember the fact this is 9/11, the day of a terrible tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
Some people maybe listening are a little too young to remember, but a lot of us, really remember. I know exactly where I was. I know exactly that whole day. I'll never forget it. But I do want to pause to remember all the lives that were lost, all the countless heroes that just dove into that in harm's way to save people. Yeah, it's just probably was the most amount of courage that anybody could have to do what they did in that just terrible, terrible day. And I do know that, people ran headfirst into danger with zero hesitation. All the first responders, many lost their lives. Many survived today, but with a lot of scars, lost friends and co-workers and everything. The sacrifices cannot be measured. You just can't. And we've never had a show on 911. So this is our first show, I believe, that's ever fallen on that day. So I do want to take the time to take a little pause and give all my gratitude to all the survivors that, know people. Loretta, I know for a fact, has gave personal sacrifices for 911. So thank you, Loretta. But enough said with that. But we don't want to forget what happened.
We don't.
All right. Anyhow, in the news, scientists say micro wormholes are secretly altering our reality. Now, this was really interesting to me, kind of a tough concept to grasp, but basically they're saying, I'll kind of summarize might be best. They're saying that there are just quadrillions amounts of these tiny wormholes that are they're kind of like bubbles or foam. Does that make sense? So picture all this foam going through a manifold and then out an exhaust pipe. So it's somewhat random. It has to do with quantum physics, but it's somewhat random and hard to measure. But they have figured out a way to measure it. And I can read the article here. Scientists in Greece have laid out a mathematical framework to help explain the so far unsolved gap in our understanding of how gravity scales up to the full size in the universe, right? Specifically, cosmologists can't yet account for how expansive of the universe increased in the recent cosmological past, a very relative term, because of all attempts to quantify the change, so far ending up just kind of clashing with the existing mathematical models. So they have come up and filled in with these micro missing pieces of these wormholes. And they estimate there could be up to 10 quadrillion of these things per cubic meter per second. So if you can imagine.
Whoa.
So when you get into per second, it starts getting quite interesting. And obviously they're getting closer, a little bit closer. Maybe we're still 100 years away from even figuring out what gravity and time is. But they're getting closer, and it will be solved by math. So if you imagine 10 quadrillion per cubic meter per second.
Dang.
Well within the realm of possibility based on estimates. Like foam bubbles, these micro wormholes may be altering reality on a small scale, like exhaust particles through your manifold and then out your exhaust. And I guess the main lesson here is small goes on as vast as big does.
Right, it goes in both directions.
Yeah. Did you ever read the book Horton Hears a Who?
Yeah.
Remember that, where it's kind of like everything gets tinier and tinier
and tinier.
Yeah, there's a whole village living on a trombone of one of the creatures, and on and on. That's kind of what we're dealing with. And no doubt they'll find black holes, micro black holes. That's kind of my next prediction.
In people?
Well, sure, it could be anywhere. It could be in your nose. You can have black holes in your nose. So now they know we have wormholes even in our body.
God, I thought it was bad I had blackheads, but now I have black holes too.
Oh, gross. All right, enough of that crap. And next, apparently there's now a robot that's actually working, controlled by the king oyster mushroom, right? So they've taken mechanics and blended it in with living organisms. No snide comments on the photo that Alex has just put up.
All right, what? That's a great shape.
Anyhow, but apparently these king oyster mushrooms are now controlling a robot. Apparently it rolls around the floor and it knows which way to turn based on the light. So they're using mycelium to control this robot, the roots basically of these king oyster mushrooms.
So what's the plan from going to mushroom controlled robots? What's next?
Well, they're going to put this in your car. They're going to have mushrooms growing under your hood.
Wow.
It'd be your self-driving.
I already have that on my Corolla.
Actually, I think you do on the carpet at least.
Yeah.
You've got some king oysters growing on there. Oh my God, Alex has got he's got his car he got when he was a child. He still has it. Still drives it every day. Oh Lord, Toyota loves you. But anyhow, so apparently by growing the mushrooms and their mycelium, these root-like threads, into the robot's hardware, a team led by Cornell University researchers have engineered 2 types of robots that sense and respond to the environment by harnessing electrical signals made by the fungus and its sensitivity to light. So there you go. It's the latest accomplishment.
That's crazy. I never would have thought you could even do that.
Who would have thought? So are you the big mushroom or that little one down there? Don't answer that.
You want to know?
Oh, I see. There's even littler ones. There's all sorts of sizes there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyhow, enough of that.
It's like a YMCA.
What? Oh my God. Oh, I'm getting embarrassed here. Okay. The next article is apparently a chick from the world's most dangerous bird, rare bird, hatches. It's a southern cassowary chick. And this is one of the world's most largest and deadliest birds once it grows up. Do you know what a cassowary is, Alex?
I've never even.
I sent you a picture of one. They have kind of a blue head and a big bony skull. They're very dinosaur looking. So this thing hatched for the first time in a bird park named Cotswolds. So apparently keepers at Birdland in Burton on the Water and Gloucestershire have been trying to breed the giant flightless bird for more than 25 years without success, and they can now breed these. So you could write over there, Alex, and see if you can get a chick.
Yeah, I
You could
ride
raise
one of
it in
these
your
to work.
backyard, right?
Hold on to its neck.
Says when they caught glimpse of the first chick, apparently it was a very special moment. I can understand that.
Yeah.
These cassowaries can stand 6 foot 6 inches tall. So that's, over 6 inches taller than you, Mr. Alex.
Whoa.
And how big do you think they get?
How big did they get?
You're going to cheat. 132 pounds.
Okay, I was gonna say 150.
But they are very striking to look at with their vivid blue face and those red wattles. That's the red wattles. No, that's not their sack. That's the wattles. Those are called wattles. That's turkeys have that too. Some people call it the dewlap.
The dewlap.
But apparently their lower anatomy is what makes them dangerous. And I sent you a photo of their lower anatomy. And people have actually been killed. There's been, I think, 2 or 3 deaths from these birds in the last 100 years. One of them was recent in like 2019. A 75-year-old man was attacked when one of his own exotic birds that he had reared on his property in Florida. So apparently his injuries were so severe, he later died in the hospital. And then there was the other last one was a 16-year-old hunter, Philip McLean, who tripped while fleeing from the bird in 1926. And he was on the ground when he received his fatal blow to the neck. But you don't have to worry, Alex. These things reside in the dense rainforest habitat of northeastern coast of Australia. So you're good.
Good. I'm safe for now.
Yeah, that's all I have for news. But then there's the untold new word of the week. Every week I'm going to talk about and give you the meaning of one new word, a new word invention.
I'm excited. Can I think there might be a bumper. Could I
Sure,
smash
if you
it?
have a bumper, you can play that bumper.
Get ready, guys.
And there's the word deja vu. Not deja vu, it's deja vu. And the definition of that word will make total sense to you, especially to our audience. It's when you've heard the same crap before. That's deja vu.
Deja vu.
Yes. So when someone keeps, when you hear the same stuff, like you tell your kid to take the garbage out on Wednesday, and he says, yeah. But every week he doesn't. That's deja vu. You get deja vu when he tells you that. Oh my God.
Is that
We're going to move right into our next segment. And that is the 5-minute witness. And I believe you even have a new bumper for that.
Yeah. Can we?
These are
cue her
really
up?
not, these are low budget bumpers. Super low budget.
Here we go, guys.
And
hey, Alex. Hey, Doug.
No.
How you?
Well,
hold on.
sorry.
Jeez.
I got a little
Starts
quick there.
playing it, huh?
You gotta build it up.
Well, yeah, I want to build it up a little
A
bit.
little showmanship.
Alex is the non-build-up person.
I just flop it out.
It's all right. He keeps the show moving along. Anyhow, I do want to say, these are serious.
They
People's witnesses are life-changing, and I don't want to put light on that. So if you have had a sighting or want to tell some, story that was life-changing for you, that's can be told in 5 minutes or less, please just send us a note. You can send it to Alex at UntoldRadioAM.com or Doug at UntoldRadioAM.com. We'd love to do it. Alex will set up a separate little recording session and record you telling your story. And we can edit those too if they do something wrong, right, Alex?
Yeah.
You don't want to edit them, no. That would take time, but he will.
I will.
He will edit them. Anyhow, let's go ahead and play Pat's story.
Okay, here we go.
Hey, Alex. Hey, Doug. How you doing? This is an account of the sighting I had in April of 2019 on Route 9 in Wilton, New York. I was on my way home from work, and about 8:30 at night, it was clear and cool night. I was approaching the Four Corners in Wilton, and the light had just turned green, so I had accelerated again. I was going about probably 40. I started creeping up the speed. And about 100 to 150 yards down on the right-hand side of the road, there's a little road that cuts into Route 9. It's called Northern Pines Road. And there was a lady sitting there in a white Chevy Suburban. It's an older one, maybe late 80s, early 90s. But I knew it was a Chevy Suburban because I'm a GM fan. So I was approaching her vehicle at about 40 or 50, working my way up to speed. And all of a sudden,
Audio's a little low.
something ran right next to her car. I would say within a 5-foot span. It stuck her arm out the window. I think she could have touched this thing as it ran by her car. But as it ran across Route 9, it was 4 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then boom, into the woods. And it basically just disappeared. And what I saw, as I drove up there, I looked at her first, and her eyes were as big as saucers. I mean, she wasn't even looking at me, and I was right in front of her. And I, of course, looked back across the road and see where this thing went. And it was gone. It blended perfectly into the woods. And it was about 7 to 7.5 feet tall, silver, gray, tannish colored. It had a little bit of that color, like if you ever talk to an old farmer who smokes a pipe and have that reddish tint around the mouth, from the pipe, had a little bit twinge of that in there too. But it was really thick. I was questioning myself, is it a Sasquatch? Because I had always seen the Patty film and thought of Sasquatch as big, hulking thing. Now this thing was big, tall, and it had a big chest, but the rest of it was skinny. It looked scraggly. The top of its head was bald, in fact. It had gray hairs coming down, kind of like an old man.
Did he say balding?
Let's go back a second.
Skinny. It looked scraggly. The top of its head was bald, in fact. It had gray hairs coming down, kind of like an old man.
Interesting.
Raised eyebrow ridges. Had long arms. They were down past his knees. And it ran with the weirdest motion I've ever seen. Even though it was blazing fast, it kind of glided. I mean, its head didn't even bob. It just kind of floated across the road. I coached football for years. I played football. I've never seen any linebacker faster than this. This thing was doing 30 miles an hour at least. And its stride was amazing. I actually went home that night, and I didn't file a report. I had waited about probably a year during the pandemic, and it was a boring time. So I actually put a BFRO report in, and within a week, Steve Calls came down, and we talked, and I showed him where I saw it. He was a really good investigator. We went over across the road, and we actually found a compressed path where it looked like something had recently stomped down on it. And it was probably a year and a half, 2 years after I actually saw it. So it looked like something is still using the area. He actually went on top of the mountain, which is called the Lincoln State Forest, the following day. And as soon as he closed his car door, he had a wood knock. And his wife actually found a footprint, which he ended up casting. I believe it was like 11.5 inches long by about 6.5 inches wide. But again, the crazy thing about the whole sighting is, long after I told one of my best friends about it, and he said, geez, he had a sighting of a Sasquatch on Route 9 too. And then we ended up finding out that it was the exact same spot. But his sighting was 13 to 14 years earlier. And what he saw was about 8 foot tall and brown. So it might be a corridor of some kind for them. I actually also spoke with Mike Yang, who uses a color guide to identify the color of the creature. And it worked perfect. I sent him the 3 or 4 colors that this thing was. And he told me to take those colors and go out in the woods and hold them up. You can actually see how those colors
You want to pause it?
blended perfectly with the
Yeah.
The audio is really. Did you record that over the phone?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really bad. Maybe we can improve our recording quality in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to make out what he's saying. I don't know if everybody can hear him, but it's pretty low volume. It's interesting that he mentioned it was old. I've heard that before. It's a heck of a detail that very few people would ever,
The
see.
age of it.
So it definitely, once again, kind of points towards a very much a physical animal. Just
Right.
can't picture a balding Sasquatch, can you?
Shooting between dimensions.
Huh?
You don't think a balding Sasquatch is gonna go into a portal?
No. No, I don't. Oh my God. Anyhow, all right. Well, thank you, Pat. I would
Yeah.
imagine we got to up our game on the recordings.
Yeah, for sure.
The phone doesn't work, Alex.
Yeah, well, I'll think of some solutions.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Anyhow, but thank you, Pat. Let's move on here. Tree trivia. I thought we would play tree trivia. Trees are really, really interesting. If you kind of boil down to so many aspects of them. And I
can we play that bumper? I don't want to forget.
Yeah, well, I'd like to see if somebody would like to play you. Is there somebody just say hell yeah? You want to play
I'll
it?
tell you what. I want to cue that up, and you guys start
All right.
fighting over who gets to beat me.
All right, go ahead.
I'm an expert at overthinking things that I shouldn't. You come across as a cool guy, someone who's the opposite.
Let's really stump Alex.
All right, who wants to play Alex in tree trivia? Who knows something about tree? John goes, he beats himself. Yeah, that's true. Come on, one of the moderators, somebody. Come on, Texas Jack. Let's. I'm picking you. I'm gonna pick somebody.
Do it.
Are you ready, Texas Jack?
ready?
Not calling it trivia was a missed opportunity. It could have been a new word. All right. He said, let's go. All right. How many tree species are there in the world, guys? 60,000 or 100,000? Take a pick. Do it quick. Use your gut instinct.
60,000.
60,000, Alex says. And you guys can pick the same answer. That's fine. Everybody's going, Texas Jazz says 60. Okay, you're both right. That's 60,000 tree species have identified. That's not many.
No.
If you really think about it, that's not many. Okay, all right. So now the next question to that, it's two-part. Are there 6 trillion trees in the world or 3 trillion trees? Answer quick, guys. 6 trillion trees in the world or 3 trillion trees? Think how much money we spent. We'll spend like $3 trillion on a project, the U.S. will. This is exactly how many trees exist in the entire world.
3.
Alex picks 3. Jack says 3. Okay. Well, you both got it right. That's 400 trees per person. Each man, woman, and child has 400 trees. I think it's just ridiculously low. I thought it would be more.
Yeah. It'd be.
It's not many. It really isn't. I mean, that really shows how small Earth is. I mean, Earth is 4.5 billion years old, and trees didn't exist at all for the first 60 to 90%. And which one is it? 60 or 90% of the planet's history?
Oh, is it 60 or 90?
Yep, you got to pick one. 60 or 90%.
90.
What say you, Texas Jack? Alex says 90%. So 90% of the planet's history had no trees. John Ayers says 60. It's okay if you guys want to guess. But they're non-counters. Mark says 60. Come on, Texas. There he goes, 60. It is 90% of the Earth's history did not have trees. So it's only the last 10% we've had trees on this planet. Isn't that weird?
That's not a long time.
No, it's not. So, Alex, you are one ahead. Texas Jack, just one. All right. The first mosses evolved 470 million years ago, but no plant grew taller than 3 feet. Or was it, or I should say 1 meter. We'll just say 1 meter. Or is it 2 meters? For more than 1 million years. For 1 million more years after plant life started growing. So did the tallest plant, was it 1 meter tall or 2 meters tall after 1 million years after plants started growing?
2 meters.
Alex says 2 meters. What say you, Texas Jack? He says 1 meter. Okay, you guys are tied now because it's 1 meter. So roughly 3 feet was the tallest plant of the first plant life on Earth. It was another 85 million years, around 300 million years ago, before the first true trees emerged. So they've been around very long, transforming the atmosphere, which obviously caused all the oxygen, to be manufactured. And that, of course, helped other animals, and so they could live. So forest then covered, or forest cover, is it 20 or 30% of Earth's total landmass? Is it 20 or 30? Answer quick. Come on.
20.
Alex is 20. What say you, Texas Jack? Is it 20% or 30% of Earth's total landmass? Caillou said you need a donut tree. Said 30. Alex said, okay, it's 30%. So he's pulled ahead now, Alex.
Oh no.
It's 4-3.
I'm about to lose it.
No, you haven't lost it yet. Over half of the forests in the world are found in just 5 countries. Or is it 3 countries? 5 countries or 3 countries have
three
have over half of our world's forests. Alex says 3. What say you, Texas Jack? Let's see. 3 or 5. I think Texas Jack is looking. He's doing the crowd. Says he's going to say 3. And you said 3, Alex?
Yeah.
It's 5 countries. You're both wrong, so that's fine. It's a non-counter. It's Russia, Brazil, Canada, the U.S., and China have over half of all the trees in the world. There you go. So you both got it wrong. Is it about 38 or 58% of all trees that exist within the boundaries of a single country? Is it 38 or 58% of all tree species, not the amount of trees, but tree species, exist within the boundaries of a single country? Is it 38 or 58?
58.
Alex says 58. What say you, Texas Jack? 38 or 58? All the tree species that exist within the boundary, or 58, is it 58% or 38? He says 38, would you say? 58, Alex?
58.
Yeah, you got it right. So you guys are now tied again. It is 58%. And that, it says here, about 58% of all tree species exist within the boundaries of a single country. Places with the most of these species include Australia, Brazil, China, Madagascar, Papua New Guinea, and Indonesia. But Brazil has the most species, with over 8,700 species. Or is it 12K species in Brazil? Is it 8,700 or 12,000 species are located in Brazil? Different species.
12K.
12. Alex says 12. We're gonna need a little clock timer with a buzzer.
12.
He says 12, and you said 8. What did you say, Alex?
12.
Oh, you're both wrong.
Oh,
Perfect.
great. Perfect.
It's 8,700 species are located in Brazil alone. Okay, although tropical rainforests cover only 3% of Earth's surface area, they are home to around half of the planet's animal species. The Amazon rainforest contributes an estimated 20% or 30% of Earth's oxygen. So the Amazon rainforest gives us 20% or 30% of all of our oxygen?
30%.
Alex is picking 30. Texas Jack, are you picking 20 or 30? Of all of the Earth's oxygen that comes from the Amazon rainforest. He said 30. What did you say, 32, Alex? Yeah, you
I
did.
said 30.
It's only 20%.
Ah.
You both got it wrong. That's good. That's what you guys are holding. Apparently, phytoplankton in the oceans contribute 70% of all the oxygen on Earth. Phytoplanktons. Think about that. What? You didn't know that?
No, I didn't.
Okay, about 40 or 18% of the world's forests are located within the boundaries of protected areas, including national parks, game reserves, conservation
Game
areas.
reserves.
Is it 40 or 18% of all the trees?
I'd say
This is I believe in the U.S., yeah.
18%.
No, apparently it's the whole world. So you're picking 18, or is it 40% are in protected areas?
18.
18 you're picking? You got it right. 18 is correct. Any mature trees during its dormant period, right, is 75 or 99% dead. When they go
Jeez.
dormant, any mature tree that goes dormant is 75 or 99% dead. When it goes dormant.
70, 75.
Come on, Texas Jack. You're supposed to answer before Alex. 75 you picked?
75.
Excuse me. And Texas Jack is right, and you are wrong. He pulls ahead. It's 90%. Or 99% of trees are dead. The only living parts of a tree are the leaves and the buds and a little bit of vascular tissue called the hilum and the xylem and the root tips. Just the tips of the roots are alive.
Just the tips.
Just the tips. Yep. The rest of the tree just provides structural support for those leaves. Isn't that cool?
That's all they're there for, just those little leaves.
Yeah, you didn't know that, did you?
No.
Trees get about 60 or 90% of their nutrition from the sun. 60 or 90% of all of their nutrition from the sun. Is it 60% or 90%? So remember, you got to fertilize them and stuff at the ground. So it's 60 or 90% of their nutrition comes from the sun.
90%.
90? You are... Where's Texas Jack's answer? Where'd you go? 60 or 90? There you go, 60. And you said what, Alex? 90?
60.
You're both right. No, you're both wrong.
Oh.
90% of the nutrition comes from the sun. And 10% only from the soil.
10% from the soil. That's it.
All right. The deepest tree roots ever found in the entire world belong to a wild fig tree. And that banyan tree there in the picture is I believe, a type of fig tree or a close cousin, whose roots were found dangling in a wet cave in South Africa, and they were 200 feet or 400 feet deep below the surface. So the deepest roots were either 200 feet or 400 feet of a fig tree.
400.
400, you say? What say you? No, he says 400. You're both right. It's 400. There you go. Let's see. I can skip that one. It's not that interesting. Oh yeah, it's kind of interesting. Pine trees are the most common species in the world on all continents, except, is it Africa or Antarctica?
Antarctica.
What the hell? This doesn't even make any sense. Pine trees are the most common species in the world on all continents, except Africa. So you're picking Antarctica?
Yeah.
And what did I say? True or false? I see now. I get it. It's a trick question. I get it. So they're saying pine trees are the most common species in the world, found on all continents except Africa and Antarctica. Is that a true statement or a false statement? Is that true or false?
True.
So you're saying it's true. And what says Texas Jack? Come on, is it true or false? He's saying, well, actually, yes. So that's right. The answer is false. Antarctica is the only continent without pine trees. Isn't that interesting? Just Antarctica has no pines. You think there's trees in Antarctica, Alex? I'm gonna send you there. I'm gonna send you there, man.
Oh, I don't know if I'd enjoy that.
All right, the smallest tree in the entire world reaches a height of only, is it 2.5 inches or 5.5 inches? The smallest tree in the world reaches only 2.5 inches, or is it 5.5 inches?
2.5.
Alex is 2.5. What say you, Texas Jack? Come on. 2.5 inches. 2.5. You said 2.5 too, Alex?
2.5.
Hey, you guys are both right. It's 2.5. It is the dwarf willow, world's smallest tree. That's its full height, and it grows in the harsh tundra. Okay.
Okay.
Tallest tree in the world. I'm just going to make this our last one. Tallest tree in the world is 480 feet, or is it 380 feet tall?
Did you say 480?
Yeah, the Statue of Liberty is 305 feet. So give you 380 feet or 480 feet. And just to give you perspective, Statue of Liberty is 305 feet tall. The tallest tree, 380 or 480?
480.
480, Alex picks.
Yeah.
Texas Jack got it right. You got it wrong. It's 380. He just pulled it. See, 1, 2, 3. You're tied. That just tied you guys up. So we got to have a tiebreaker here. A large oak tree can drop 7,000 or 10,000 acorns in a single year. A large oak tree can drop 7,000 or 10,000 acorns in a year.
7,000.
Alex is 7. What say you, Texas Jack? We got a lot of smart people. A lot of guys, most people get these answers right. Texas Jack says 10. He is right. Alex, you are wrong. You said 7, right?
Yeah, I said 7.
Yeah, you got it wrong. He got it right. All right. He broke the tie and he walks away. Not by much. He gotcha. He gotcha. Look at you. You're just like, huh? Are you reading something?
No.
You're not?
No.
Well, what are you thinking about? What's going
What
through
am I
your brain right now? The whole world wants to know.
I feel like I'm being annihilated.
How did you get annihilated? You only lost by one question on
Well, normally I just smoke everyone.
I'm gonna call you tomorrow and ask how many acorns get dropped by a big oak tree. You'll probably still give me the wrong answer. I know you. All right. Well, we got Mel in the back room here. Should we go through some clips real quick and we'll introduce
Yeah,
them and get them on?
Sure.
All right. Are you going to play that bumper or just skip it?
Let's do it. Let's do
All
the
right.
bumper.
All right, clip 1, no sound. So apparently all police departments recently were given UFO handbooks on how to handle. That's not the right one.
Oh, you're talking about, I'm
Clip
sorry. There
1.
was only clip 2 and beyond.
How did you do that?
I don't know. It was in the email.
All right, well, here's the clip that you didn't get from Mr. Al. Everybody go boo. Anyhow, it's no big deal. It just showed the brochure. So all the police departments apparently were given a UFO brochure or a handbook on how to handle reports. Basically also to warn them that UFOs could be dangerous. Did you know that?
They can be dangerous. Yeah, super.
No. Did you know police were told that they might be dangerous?
No, I didn't know
And
that they
asked
even
them
had a
if they were
policy.
dangerous. You think everything's dangerous. Alex thinks bunnies are dangerous.
Well, if you get bit, it gets infected.
God, I had to rescue off the kiddie rides.
You did.
I did. I had to rescue every time. Anyhow. Okay, clip 2.
Sorry, guys. Clip
Sound
2,
is
I
good.
robbed
This
you.
is just basically a flock of goats. Enough said. Just go ahead and play it. This It was funnier when I watched it. The time delay doesn't work. Clip 2. Already played it. Clip 3. We're going to skip clip 3. The hell with it. Clip 4. Sound is really good. It's the tumbleweed attack. It's insane. I've never seen anything like this video. You got to unplay it. Sounds good. This is insanity. Could you imagine waking up and having this in your front yard?
Oh my gosh.
10,000 they're pokey. They're big. Look at this poor guy. Just watch this video. I think I'd leave the country if I saw this.
That is terrifying. Oh, imagine if that
They
was
look like
chasing you with
creatures.
some bunnies.
They look like creatures.
They
I
do.
think I'm gonna produce a movie called Tumbleweed. I won't need any special effects. Is that it?
Yeah, that's
Or is there more? Just what people want to see, tumbleweeds.
I think that's enough.
That's enough of that crap. Oh my God. The best footage was yet to come, but that's still enough.
Oh, what's next?
Clip 5. Sound is fine. This is the reason you don't want to let dogs watch TV. Go ahead.
We did get a coating in some areas, but then also quickly melted. A live look outside right now. We do have some breaks in the clouds.
By the way, Alex does this when we watch TV together. This is why you don't want your dog watching TV. It's like, I'm out of here. I guess apparently they threw a cat in there too. The reactions are pretty priceless.
They think it's real. I suppose
They're making TV so damn. See, the reason this works
the
for dogs to
resolution.
react this way in the old days, when I was young and TV was a little black and white fuzzy box.
Yeah, you can barely
tinfoil
see
on
it.
the antenna. But they're so realistic now with these high def TVs the animals kind of knew they weren't real before, and now they're like, damn, that's real.
They're confused.
They're confused. You're right. Okay. Clip 7. Sound is good. These are not tumbleweeds. These are wild turkeys.
Wild turkeys.
But this is kind of right there with the tumbleweeds. Isn't that just insanity?
That
Your sister,
wild.
Alex, I was over at your sister's house the other day. And right in the city, right in downtown, there's a wild turkey trying to like guard the street, claiming it as his own. Cars as they drove
Just guarding it.
right in the downtown Edina or wherever it was.
It's was it Planet of the Turkeys?
Planet of the Turkeys. All right, clip 8. Sound is good. I snuck in a dad joke. Go ahead and play it. Gotta have the volume up, dude.
Why don't ants get sick? Because they have little antibodies.
Oh no.
Why don't
Isn't
ants get sick? Because they have little antibodies.
And then I snuck another one into clip 8A. I snuck one more
What do
and
you
I
call a
had to.
teacher who never farts in public? A private tutor.
One more time, play it.
What do you call a teacher who never farts in public? A private tutor.
That's pretty good. All right, clip 9. We're almost done.
Clip 9 is no longer available.
Oh, really? Okay. Ching, whoosh, gone.
Out the window. We got one more. We
All right,
got
clip
10.
10. This one's worth it. I don't care about clip 9. Clip 9, the sound is fine. Here, flooding is just, it's no big deal. It's taken totally in stride. It's no problem if you live in Venice, just normal. Go ahead and play that. Clip 10. Look at this. Just watch.
Oh my gosh.
They don't care.
They don't care at all.
Business as usual.
Just another day. Everyone's just out.
6 inches of water, restaurant still open. That's the way, that's the attitude you need, right?
Yeah, right. It is.
You run a restaurant, you want it to go. All right, our guest. Are you ready?
Yes,
Are you
I'm
ready for
Mel?
Yes, before Mel leaves us. Oh, I've been wanting Mel on our show for a long time. So Mel is an enrolled member of the Yakama Nation in Washington State. Apparently his entire career, 37 years, has been in the forests and the forestry of the Pacific Northwest. What a beautiful place to work, right? Apparently he has spent 27 years. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just trying to read my own writing. Apparently he started listening to stories about forest people as a young child from his great-grandfather. He would listen to locals and other enrolled members of the Yakama tribe about their encounters. Apparently during his career, he had numerous encounters with the Sasquatch. He became a member of the BFRO, which is really cool, and investigating encounters across Washington and Oregon. And during his forestry career, he was a main investigator for all the encounters of Bigfoot. So apparently he's been on Coast to Coast AM. That's big time, right?
Huge.
The Rob Report, ESPN. He's even appeared in the Yakama Herald, Republic. Mel has also appeared in other television programs, including Finding Bigfoot, Expedition Bigfoot. And that's enough. Oh, he was also recently in the Flash of Beauty documentary.
Very cool. Yeah, I saw that on YouTube.
Yeah, so very cool. So let's welcome Mel to the. You didn't play your disclaimer, so then we have to.
Yeah.
That. No, we'll bring Mel on.
Oh, yeah, we'll have him on in a minute here.
All right.
Hey, Mel. How's it going?
Hello, Mel.
Hi, Doug. Hi, Alex.
Hey, it's good, really good to meet you. I have been listening to you for quite a long time, and I'm hoping we get to cover some new ground today, maybe.
Okay.
We'll try anyhow. We'll try. But I know that somebody like yourself, just God working in the forest of the great state of Washington, I would imagine that you've seen just one immense beauty in your life.
Yes, I have.
And have just this huge appreciation. Obviously, you wouldn't do what you did. How in the world, this is a question nobody ever asked anybody. How do you think Bigfoot fits into the ecosystem? What do you think they might do for the eco? Because as you know, nothing goes to waste in nature.
That's true.
Everything has a purpose. What do you think Bigfoot's purpose is in making the forest better?
Well, I mean, just like any other animal that you have that would contribute to, I mean, down to the smallest microbes. I mean, everything melds together, everything works together. And with the interactions of the Sasquatch with the ecosystem, they, will help spread the seeds just like the birds or any other animals will when they
Yeah.
defecate in the woods.
Yeah.
And they travel about, they know about where their foods, their medicines will be located. And so, and that's taught at a very young age to all the other ones. So helping, you know, take from that and then make the remainder of that flourish is everything just comes together.
You know how black bears, I mean, they eat a lot of vegetation and they poop a lot, these nice little plucks. If you've ever analyzed bear scat, it is just full of seeds,
Right.
just tons of them. And people don't think about that. What is it? What is an animal's purpose? But one thing that occurred to me, and see if you might agree with this, is they are known to push a lot of trees down.
I've seen them push trees down. And,
Oh, you have?
I have. And the
You've
purpose,
seen that?
I've
You're
seen
talking-
it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm excited now.
Oh, yeah.
So is it possible that the ecology of pushing even live trees down in the forest would aid the forest? I would think it would. It would allow sunlight to come in, right? Would be one thing. And
Right.
fertilizes the forest floor. And maybe their job is to push live trees down.
Right. I mean, even when a tree falls over by itself, I mean, it changes the dynamic of that area.
Yeah.
Once a dark spot in the woods, you have two trees that are in the overstory, that creates a huge opening in that timber typing to change the vegetation down below.
Wow.
And same with if you let that forest grow and let that overhead canopy close everything out, they have all the nutrients that they need for all the competition that they have to compete for all that water and all the nutrients that you were all talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So, yeah, every little small thing, Sasquatch, beetles, contribute to the health of that forest.
Yeah. Do you think okay, when a storm comes through and it flattens a bunch of trees like blowovers, I'm sure you get blowovers in Washington like we do here in northern Minnesota because the soil is kind of thin, a lot of tree roots grow on top of rock. So it doesn't take a big blowdown, but we had like 1.5 million trees blow down up in Ely once in northern Minnesota. And I just wondered, if anybody's done a study on, what did that do to the forest and the nutrients? Because these were live trees that blew over. But I want to hear you. That's kind of just my diarrhea thinking that maybe that's one of their main jobs is to push trees over.
Well, I mean, it's a possibility, but the reason that they do push the trees over is because of the interactions with the people that
Okay.
are there. I've learned over my time that if you, like me, talking to you and Alex, introductions, getting to know each other, we become friends. But if I just come, it's like, you know what, I'm not doing this show. I don't like you guys, and you have that attitude. That's you guys aren't going to have. You're going to hit the okay. He's out of here. So picture the Sasquatch when you go out to the woods. And you're doing that, you're going to be destroying things around it, like shooting it up or cutting things down, all this negative interaction. You're going to get that bad neighbor, get out of here, push out mentality for them. And I part of my training now for folks that I work with is showing them these interactions when they do see places like garbage dumps or shooting ranges that people create in these areas. And you could tell that Sasquatch was there just by the trees that they pulled out of the ground. And when they do that, they're doing that to protect themselves, protect their areas. And it does change the ecosystem because it does open the area up to sunlight and everything else. It's just like a firewood, open up, and then some trees require heat to open, and so those species will thrive after that fire. But it's going to take another 15 to 30 years before that forest becomes habitable to the surrounding wildlife.
Do you think it's possible, Mel, that they knock trees over when no one's around just for, showing family members how strong they are, or for warning other Bigfoots possibly, so I've got so many questions for you. And one would be, how do you think they get along? Like when they run into each other, if they're not from the same family. Have you heard any stories on that? And then of course we want to hear your story. I'm going to be coming at you from all sorts of weird angles.
Oh, that's fine.
I want to apologize in advance too for that, but my brain's kind of ADHD tonight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, gorillas show aggression by going around, throwing things around, ripping things out of the ground. It's a possibility that may happen as well with the Bigfoot forest people, but unless you see it, you don't know. But you hear a lot of trees that fall over, and then you hear the howls, you hear the wood knocks, you hear all these other little factors that say, oh yeah, that was Sasquatch that pushed that down. But then you've also got thin soils, like you were explaining. You've got rocky soils. You've got, you've got a root system that needs to grip into the ground like you were barefooted and somebody pushed you would have to react to that. And so the reaction would, for those trees and the root system to counteract that is very slow. And over time, when you get the continuous storms and everything else that you're talking about, there's not enough time for that reaction to correct that for the next oncoming storm, which could be hours or days or even a month later. And that continuous bombardment is what's causing the failing of large areas and thin soils.
Okay, there's a lot of questions coming in too, and people suggesting, which are great. Keep them coming. So to ask Mel about tree breaks and what you discovered they might mean.
The tree breaks that when I first started noticing them during my forestry career, it was weird because there was no natural thing for them to be created. I was noticing them marking next to roads, next to campgrounds, next to fire pits, next to trails. And so when I started GPSing these breaks, I started noticing that they started coinciding with these roads. Everything man has done out in the woods, they mark it. And I've always taught people that go out, I said, go out beyond the campground that you're at, look for these tree breaks, and you will find that they know about this spot. This is a repeated spot that campers, humans come to with the fire ring and everything. They mark that so that they know comfortably how to approach that camp safely without being noticed. And that's the road crossings. The experiments that we started doing with these tree markers was we'd notice them in one area, and then down the road system there would be more on either side of the road. So I had my partner drop me off a mile and a half away, and I told him, I said, remember where we saw the one crossing the markers crossing on either side of the road. Go sit there, and I'll follow these tree breaks, and we'll see if this works. That I should come right to you. And it took me about 45 minutes to follow everything, but I came exactly right out where my partner was sitting in the truck.
Wow.
And to go to smaller things, during my forestry career, we used to hike 15, 20 miles into these permanent plots that we had in the woods. And the permanent plots are located or have a white center pipe with trees with aluminum tags surrounding this 5-acre plot. And so I told my coworkers, I says, I'm going to try an experiment with something this small that's always out here, but we only visit every 10 years. So I turned everything off, turned myself around, shut everything down, and then started walking towards the plot. And then all of a sudden I started finding the breaks. And I told them, I said, the plot is straight up this direction. And then I said, you'll hear the tags, you see the pipe, you'll see everything there. And sure enough, they had marked that permanent plot.
Okay, so just to back the truck up a bit, you are using their tree breaks to navigate through the forest.
Yes, their trails.
Gotcha.
Yes.
That's the
That
first
must
time
have
I've
been
ever heard this. Alex, have you ever heard that?
No, I've never heard that. It must have been
That's-
exhilarating.
That's
Yes.
so. Yeah, that must have been kind of cool when you had those that light bulb moment. Okay, so
without technology, I had a GPS when I started noticing. Before I was just using just a regular map, and then when I crossed that area, that road, then I would mark on the map, and then I started seeing it then. But then I started using GPS, and then that showed it even better because I knew exact locations of where those breaks were at, so I was able to follow them.
well, let's talk about the breaks themselves. I recently met with a structural engineer
Okay.
about the breaks and got a really he's been studying them for a long time to determine, is this being caused by wind and weather, or is something grabbing these damn things and twisting them?
Right.
And the conclusion is, what it is. It's being grabbed and twisted.
Right.
They're being broken both hands.
Yes.
And a structural engineer can tell that. And I really hope that if you're a Bigfoot enthusiast and you do have a degree in engineering, to really study these things. So what kind of tree breaks do you find, Mel?
It depends on the heights of the trees that I'm working in.
Okay.
If an area has been logged, they will stay out of it for a while because their hiding cover is now gone. And so once that vegetation, once those trees grow back up in about 20 years, just like any other animal out there, it has its hiding cover to protect itself. And so with the Sasquatch, what I've noticed with the logging operations, of course they get upset that, at the loggers for coming in and taking all the big trees, taking their hiding cover, taking away and changing the whole dynamic. But it takes about 15 to 20 years before they will return to that spot because of the hiding cover and their vegetation coming back that they need to live. And I've noticed that in, my career while I was there, and the tree breaks will start coming back in to mark those locations. And what you're looking for on the tree breaks is, and I'm sure your structural engineer, showed you, is that there is so much force that goes into this that it shatters the fibers of the wood. And sometimes it will kill the top over years, and then other times that top will survive. And what you really got to look out for is
Mel, how How
time.
much pounds of force do you think?
Oh, geez, I couldn't tell you. We've tried to break even the 1 inch, even the minute half-inch tops, and we couldn't do it without ripping. Because and another thing you look for when you're looking for these tree breaks is that when they grab it above the break, you'll see the rubbing that they had to grip onto that, and then when they shattered it, look at the above the break, and then you will see the rubbing the grip that they had in order to break that. And so over time, snow break will slightly bend over, and you'll see that growth come back. Uh, Also, you need to uh, e- uh, look on the ground to see if anything caused that tree to bend at that point. But what you're looking for is the complete shattering of the force and the breaks in the fibers of that tree break.
Is there anything, I mean, can you give some tips for the researchers on spotting tree breaks and spotting one that's, just weather caused versus Bigfoot? Is there any patterns you can tell us about that you've noticed that could aid us?
Yeah, just start with the campgrounds at first, and
Okay.
then expand out that. Go for a hike, go cross country, and then when you start noticing these breaks, then you're like, hey, um, they've marked something here for a reason, and then search that area, do a grid pattern, and find out what they're marking. They mark every man-made thing out there. It's an old fire ring. It's a fire tower that has been knocked down and no longer used. And then once you start finding these, especially the knocked down fire towers, go around that fire tower and start looking, or around any building out there, and start looking at the old breaks.
Like
Then you
how far away should they go from a man-made structure to look for tree breaks? How far
10,
away?
not even more than 10 feet.
Oh,
Because
okay.
what I share with everybody is they approach with different breaks, showing the location of where they're going. The cross breaks showing, hey, I know they got something ahead of me,
Yeah.
and then go further out. Look, so you've got your spot, you got a campground, you've located the first break. Go out, start a grid pattern, and look for the next ones, and then you'll start seeing the trail that they use to get in there. So also, when you
So
start,
so you think it's very beneficial to map those with GPS,
yes,
each break?
yes,
Okay.
yes, and so it's the comfortability that they
This
mark.
is. I'm sorry, Rob. This is interesting, Dad. Have you heard of people doing this sort of mapping
No,
before?
no,
I just think this is really unique.
not not to the level, but this is something that needs to go out. The general
Mhm.
public needs to be educated on this. Okay, so you go out, you use kind of a grid pattern. You're absolutely looking for just these tree breaks. Is there other sign,
I,
Mel,
I've
that you're looking for?
I've never got into the structure, like the X's, or
Yeah,
I've never got into it because I've always focused on the tree breaks, and I'm starting to learn from people that I go out with now. They're showing me the different patterns that are being made out there to not go any further, or whatever they've come up with. But as a forester, you know, I see trees falling all the time,
yeah.
and they unless it's a severe windstorm or wind pattern that's frequent to the area, they all fall in the same direction. And then there's other ones, over time, and all the stuff that they've showed me have been older trees that are dead and dying, and then they can fall any direction. And
Yeah.
so I think, and so that's why I have not really looked into that.
Well, is there any pattern on what direction a tree like is pushed down versus do they push trees down to mark trails or mark directions of travel or anything there? Because a lot of times I see, here's what I find. I'll find like a birch tree or a poplar tree pushed over on near a road, and then I find one pushed over the other direction on the other side of the road, as if it's kind of like I went this way. I find another one on the other side of the road. I just see so many of those. It seems non-coincidental.
It's a possibility, but what I see about the tree pushovers is anger.
Okay.
And so,
So you associate those with anger. Okay.
yes, because the last camp outing I went out with somebody, I took off and I started looking for these breaks, and then I found an area where there was a lot of violence.
Okay.
And what I mean by that, there were trees that were pulled out of the ground. There were
Ooh.
shrubbery thrown, broken, and I didn't know why. And so I started following that little violent piece of property right there. And then I found another tree break. And then as I walked that direction, I found an area, a shooting area where somebody had shotgun shells everywhere. They were shooting up the trees. They were shooting up everywhere. And then I went back and looked at that spot again, and I was like, this is hostility. This is anger towards the people that had done that.
Okay.
And so they obviously were very vocal, very strong about pulling everything and then wanting those people out of there. And did they chase them out? It's a possibility.
Could you imagine the strength it takes to pull even a tiny tree out of the ground?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
just a tiny one, let alone a big one.
I had some shrubs removed, and I had a real big, strong Russian guy help me. And I mean, we're not talking, this is with picks and axes and shovels to get something out of the ground. And these things can just pull them right up.
Right. And so what you're looking for is if you know that they are there and they've started getting really angry, they have so much strength and power that they'll pop those limbs right out of the main stem. And they don't rip and tear, they just pop them straight out.
It's interesting. So, okay. So when they're marking a trail or a warning, they're doing grabbing and breaking and twisting.
Yes.
Is it more breaks than twists, or are they all twisted a little bit?
It just depends on the individual.
Okay.
I mean, and then, like I said, look at the history. When you do find breaks, find an area that they frequent. Look at the older stuff that could be. I've found stuff that was 3 feet, 4 feet off the ground, and then I found stuff that was up 15 feet up in the air that was 50, 60 years old because the trees were dead and dying, and they were still standing. So it shows history, and that they have been there. And then I called it, what did I call it? The area that I found one time where there was 40 breaks in one spot, and they were all right there, right around 12 to 16 feet in height.
Wow.
And I mean, just the individual himself must have been at least, 12 feet tall. And so when you're looking at these breaks and you're trying to put everything together, don't look at your eye level. That's the mistake everybody does.
You gotta look up.
You got to project yourself to be 8 to 12 feet tall to be able to see that distance.
You think that's a good height range based on your experience, 8 to 12?
Mm-hmm.
So I just had a recent experience with a tree pushover, which definitely came from anger because we went up to a fly-in cabin up in northern Ontario, middle of nowhere. But they had gone there to service the cabin, and it was pretty much destroyed inside. Once again, the first thing everybody jumps to is a bear broke in. Well, there's not one claw mark, doors ripped off, cabinets ripped off, shelves ripped down, blah, blah, blah. Not one bite mark, not one claw mark. In soft pine, just torn, the hinges just ripped out. But they broke the glass. Well, here's the crazy deal. Took them a number of trips to get the cabin fixed. They had to replace both doors, blah, blah, blah. They get done. They have one last little thing to do on a door or something. They come back with the plane, and there's a tree big, huge tree pushed over gently on the roof of the cabin. No windstorms, no storms. The tree had been there, hundreds and hundreds of years. What do you think that means? Is this like stay away?
Well, I mean, if it's, canopy, you got the intermediate, you got the co-dominant, and then you've got the dominant level. And it sounds like this was in the dominant level where the treetop was in the wind. So, it's going to sway a little bit more than the other 2, 3 layers. And so if it's fallen over gently, if you look at where it fell, it may have been brushing up against other trees as it slowly
It was
get
pretty
down.
much by itself.
Okay.
But it was, you could see it didn't damage the roof at all.
Right.
There was no damage at all. Just huge tree. And I have a picture I could send to Alex. Just laid, with the big root ball tipped up.
Mm-hmm.
And it just looked like something pushed it over.
Yeah. And so, as I explained, you got to look at all this before you can determine that it's something like that. You may want to go look at that tree again next time somebody's there, and look at the 8 to 10 foot level.
Well, it's all cut up. The tree, they had to cut it up.
Okay.
But the point was there was no wind
Mm-hmm.
that night, nothing.
Yeah.
Healthy big tree, one of the bigger ones by the lake. It was just such a coincidence to just get the cabin all fixed from all this damage. So whatever came into the cabin was quite angry again.
Yeah.
And this time it broke the glass out even, which is out of the doors, which scared us because, the lady's like, oh, you're going to Snell Grove. And you're like, oh, yeah, well, that cabin got destroyed here a couple weeks ago. And, of course, we're a little on edge. And then we went down to the pilot. And the pilot goes, well, that isn't all that happened. And he's telling us about the tree then. I'm like, oh, God.
Well, I mean, that may come down to the occupants that were there at that time, too. So, and then you got to put that in play.
Yeah.
What were they doing to cause that type of response for them?
Yeah. So you think it could have been some of the cabin visitors that PO'd these creatures.
Right. Yep.
That
I
came in.
so,
Okay, well, that makes sense. That's a good way to think about it. I could actually probably find out and maybe do a little research.
Okay.
Okay. So you saw a tree getting pushed over once. I want to hear this story.
Yeah, this was like my first experience with them when I just returned to the Yakama Reservation. I was working for the Forest Service for 9 years, and my first assignment that I was sent out on by myself was to go collect timber data and then look at the springs and then look at the creeks and then take heights of all tree species in this area. And when I got there, there was about an inch of snow on the ground, and I had to go into this drainage that had a bunch of lodgepole pine in it, so it was very thick and dense. And as I started and crossed the creek, I started hearing something off to my right, and it had this low, and I heard it, and I thought it was a bear at first. So I worked on my plot, and then I picked up everything after I finished that and went to my next one, and then it did it again. And that one, that one went through me. That was an infrasound moment, and it
sounds like it.
I was, I had gone like this, and I was like, I don't know what the heck that was, and so I started working, and it was quiet, and then I started going to the next one, and then it did it again, and then it the growl, whatever you want to call this deep rumble that it let out went right through me again, and I was like, oh man, I don't know what you are. And so I started looking in that direction, and then I couldn't see anything. I was moving about, and then I dropped down to the ground, and I started looking down below the canopy level, and I could not see anything because it was so dark. And then after that, I was like, okay, well, whatever this is, I'm done with it. And so instead of going straight back to the truck, I took the long route around, and I took a 2 mile walk back to the truck, which was less than, a half a mile, three-quarters of a mile behind me. So I took the long way around, and when I got to the truck, I could see the truck, and I got closer, then I heard this boom, boom, smash, and the tree had been pushed over. And I was like, okay, I put my hands up. I learned to put my hands up to show that I don't have anything.
Ah,
And I said, this is your area. I'm not going to come back here for a while, but I had to go back to finish that. And I went back down to the office and I told my coworkers about it. And I told them, I said, I need help. I said, something just happened up here and I don't want to go back out there by myself. And they was like, nope, it's all you. You can have it. So 2 weeks later, I went back up there and I finished the area really quick and then I moved on.
so you not only got to see this tree go down, but you got to hear this crazy. It's almost like the way you do it is almost like the Moorhead Samurai kind of growling
Right.
that creature did on tape.
Hmm.
Kind of that the way you do it. So do it one more time.
Well, I
That
was on
sound.
I was on the Olympic Peninsula with the BFRO expedition, and then
Yeah.
it was projected to me there, and it was,
Wow.
and I felt it, but the guy that was walking with me didn't feel anything. So I firmly believe that it was projected right at me.
Wow. Beamed
And
at you.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, that must have been interesting. I've been growled at, but I'm always urinating in the forest. Have you ever had that happen?
oh,
When you're urinating and all of a sudden you get growled at, like this is apparently quite an insult to these creatures.
I've never had the urinating problem. I've always gone to the same spot, so I'm not going all over the place.
Yeah.
But we did find, uh, walking out of the wilderness area, we had just walked about 4 hours to get back to the truck, and we reached a plateau, and it was thick Doug fir, subalpine fir, so it was about 6, 7 feet tall. And I'm walking through this, separating it, and all of a sudden I come across this. What the? It was a heavy urination smell, and I had to go back, and because I wanted to find out where it was, because I'd never smelled this before. It wasn't cat. It wasn't anything else. So I started sniffing on my way back, and found it on the ground. But then I also found it 6 feet up. It walked right through it to begin with. That's what caught my nose. And so and it was funny because it walked through the trees. And if you're looking at something that's 10, 11 feet, even 9 feet tall, it's going to have legs that are 5.5 feet long. So this
It's
was
a visual, Mel. It's a
just
visual.
it's just them walking through. When I was going like this, they're walking over the top of it, and so the urination smell had trailed off for a while, and I was waiting for my coworker to come up, and he walked through because he was following me. He walked through the same area, and he goes, "Oh man, what is that smell?" And I go, "Go back and find it, and then follow it." And then he was like, "Why is it up this high?" Because it was 5.5, 6 feet up in the air. I mean, you're not going to have a
Because they're
bear.
that tall, right? Yeah, bear's not doing that.
And this was not big enough for, the area was not, the trees weren't going to support a bear. climbing up to that, or a cat or
Yeah.
anything like that.
Was
So,
it just one tree? Was it just one tree?
no, there was about 10 trees,
10 trees,
10
yeah.
trees as it walked that it had
As
that.
as Mel paints his visual for all of us.
Hey, you got to.
So apparently they walk when they urinate,
Well, yeah, I mean, it could be them
or
wiping
just spraying that
themselves.
far.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, jeez. Well,
That-
I once again, when I was up at Snell, at about 3 a.m, one started urinating where we urinate up by the cabin outside, right by the window. And I heard it and I thought, well, it's one of my buddies. And then I realized, oh no, it just kept going and going and going and going and going. And it was so powerful. And then I realized that's not a man doing that, peeing out there. And then it threw the picnic table and then threw a big rod case that somebody had left out there at the cabin. And that, of course, then you knew for sure it was, a Bigfoot that was out there.
Yeah, yeah.
But so I can say I've been within few feet of a Bigfoot peeing. So
Yeah, I've heard stories where they peed on tents, and my wife has a good one
Jeez.
about a tent being peed on, and
Oh,
she was in
nice.
it.
Oh gosh. Okay. I'm just trying to figure out. Okay, where we go? Where do we go to top all this stuff? What is it about these creatures that has us all so baffled, Mel? So baffled with their intelligence, their trickery, their sense of humor, because I've experienced that. Just their whole personality, I guess.
Well, it's not them as a whole. It's the individual researcher that has come really close to them. Habituation areas, homes, tenting areas, working areas. Constant communication or interaction, or stuff along that lines, that these people have gathered so much information about them, names even, and mind speak, and that
Well, what is this
you
all about? All this
well,
confusion and mystery.
it's the division between science and the poo poo, the woo woo, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That's the division that has separated everybody, and until everybody gets on the right page of being able to trust the person like me, you, or Alex, to go out, listen to your history with them, your interactions with them, and not, and because it's you that has had all this activity, and you are still trying to piece all this together. And I had the best job to be able to do that, because I was out there with them every day, and I was
Wow.
able to put all this together. But when I first started, I needed to go out to the BFRO or outside the reservation to find other researchers, other enthusiasts,
Other witnesses too.
and other witnesses. Yes,
Yeah.
that these have happened to them, because I was going zonkers for a while, because in most Native American culture, it is not talked about. It's not shared, and it took a long time for me to find somebody that I could talk to about this. But this was well after I had left the reservation to go on expeditions, to camping trips with everybody else, and
Yeah.
talk to everyone.
So okay, well let's talk about their Let's start somewhere specific. Let's talk about their intelligence level. From my experiences, I put their intelligence level out in that forest so freaking high that I'm just astounded. Like, for instance, we'll go to Great Lake. I'm just going to give you an example.
Okay.
To camouflage a camera where a human can't even find it, even if they're a foot away from it.
Yeah, but
It's completely invisible. And they'll throw rocks at it to let you know they know where it is.
Yeah.
They'll throw a rock and hit the camera and go, I know where that is. You're not fooling me.
Mm-hmm.
And that, it's like, well, were you watching us put it in? or do you just know your environment that well? It's just something out of place. It's just stories like that that I just, I'm like, okay. And I don't want to harm them. I just really still do want to photograph them. I want to prove their existence because I think some good can come out of it. Forests that could be, left alone. I think there's a big thing in leaving things alone and not building buildings everywhere. I'm not some tree hugger guy, and I think, yeah, we do need logging. We need develop. I use toilet paper. Okay, we need logging. I'm not that guy, but I still think there can be suburbs don't have to sprawl quite the way they're sprawling. I think there's some things that could be done. I'm a big fan of putting away wetlands and leaving that alone and saying, you know what, this can just be a reserve or a preserve for them. I would love to see that happen in my lifetime. So my intentions are good, but yet all I want is a little bit, want a little more science. Would love to get a photo, even if it's just for me or film.
Yeah.
Even if it's just for me, even if I'm the only one that gets to see it, I'd be happy with that. But
well, can I ask the question? How many have you seen?
I've seen 4 of them now.
Okay.
But all never the front. I was the back walking away. One I saw from the side walking away. And I did get to see it from the side and from the back walking away from one little open area into another forest. And then we saw when me and Yvette saw one together walking on, kind of in an alder ditch full of alders. And it was heading into a nature reserve area. And that was kind of at dusk. Once again, the back. Then we saw another one at the side of the road after it swam. It was drying off at the side of the road. Once again, near a very deep forest, big forested area on the edge of a native reservation. But I've never seen the face, which I'd really like to. But I also wonder, how have I been lucky enough to see 4 of these creatures? And I've been lucky enough to have a witness each time too, which is amazing to me.
Right. Yeah. And,
they're real. I know they're real. It's just, and I'm also afraid there's a fear in me too, Mel. I've had chances where they've been right outside a window, a number of them, and I'm still afraid to go like that with the curtain.
Exactly.
And do you blame me?
No, I do not.
It's life-changing.
It is. Yes, it is. I mean, we were all brought up with stories of monsters, and what do people put Bigfoot in the category of a monster? And so when especially when the little ones, the kids that are out playing in the woods, what if they don't know monsters, they know monkeys. And so a lot of the stories from the little ones are monkeys.
Yeah. So, so that's why what I was kind of seeing if you had anything that you could tell our audience in kind of a concise logline way, bullet point way, of giving us a bunch of bullet points on what you feel their personality is all about, their kindness, their intelligence, their purpose, are they, and their interest in us. They obviously have an interest in us,
right?
From afar.
Yeah, from afar, because they're learning. I mean, you approached me because you've heard about me.
Yes.
You're approaching Sasquatch because you've heard about them. But what people need to do is respect what they do when they go out there. I told you about the negative interactions, the violence that could happen, and the destruction that they do to the area to try to get those people out of there.
Yeah.
So
but okay, but let's back up. They still didn't hurt anybody.
No, they don't.
So it's a violent interaction, but it's just kind of an intimidation without
intimidation.
Contact.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what they're trying to do. I mean, even with the loggers, they come around to the logging equipment when nobody's there and they throw everything about. But I've taken many stories of loggers that have shown up 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and disrupted everything while they were there, and then the interaction was violent with them throwing everything that they could. That they said there's no way anybody could have picked that up and thrown it that distance,
Yeah.
and they were under the cover of night where we have light, but you only have light in front of you, not to have all the way around you. And I've talked to other loggers that have had great interactions with them after they introduced themselves, saying that I'm only here to do a job and then I'm going home, and then go repeat that. And
But do they
the
know?
interaction,
I know, but do they understand? What are
Is
they understanding? The
I-
language?
is
or
it the energy?
Yeah,
Is
the
it
energy,
is it
the
their
vibe.
body language?
it's the purpose why they're there. I mean, it takes us a while to observe somebody to be able to understand who that person is. And you've got to look at what we do in our lives to create friendships, to go places in order to be there amongst the other people without upsetting them. You've got to know, if you go into a reservation, you've got to know the traditions. You got to read it, and then even talk to other people about it. You can't just go in there and say, I'm here, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and you guys are going to go that way. And that's, you're not going to get the greatest interaction out of that. So the gentleness of your demeanor when you go out there will be seen by them. And the gentleman that I talked to repeated, nothing ever happened. His truck broke down. He had to go back down. He brought another truck up the next day. He started getting peppered with rocks.
Yeah.
And so didn't even do his job that early morning. He went back down and says, "You get my truck going, and I'm going to go back up there." And so when they got his truck going, he went back up the next day. Nothing. They knew his truck. They knew his vehicle. They knew who he was.
It's interesting. Okay. So, and when they throw rocks, they never seem to hit anybody. So they're purposely missing us on purpose.
Yeah.
How could they be that smart to know they don't want to harm us?
Well, I mean, your marksmanship, if you're a hunter, it takes a long time to build that talent up, to read the winds, to understand trajectory, under the spin of the earth. All this stuff that is trained to go into being, an athlete. Even it takes a long time for that to build up, and so that's all they do. They live there, they thrive there. They don't survive, they thrive.
No, but what I'm getting at, I don't think I asked that quite right.
Oh,
Why
and
do
so
you think? Why do you think, Mel, that they purposely avoid hitting us?
Well, to get your attention. I mean, so that's a subtle throw of a pebble, and then people would hear that.
Right.
And I mean, if they wanted to pepper you, I'm sure they would.
Oh,
hit
they could hit you.
Yeah, but
I know that, but they don't.
It's an attention getter to the people that are there. That, hey, if you didn't know I was here first, you didn't hear me walk up, or you didn't smell me, or you didn't sense me, but here comes the rock to let you know that I'm over here.
But Mel, they have to be almost far more intelligent than humans. Humans hurt people all the time.
Well, I mean,
but they don't seem to ever hurt anybody.
No, that's because they weren't brought up that way. We as a society have been brought up that way.
Yeah.
They have not. The
Okay.
interactions, they're taught at a young age. That's why you hear the little ones come into camp, because they're showing them the interactions, and while the older ones watch out for them. And I've got hundreds of stories of them coming into camps and then hearing the interactions of the little ones while the big one is standing watching over them. And if you know they're there, then you can announce yourself that, hey, I know you guys are here. I have to go to the bathroom, or I have to go get something out of my car. They'll leave, and then you do what you got to do and go back into your tent, go back into your vehicle, and then you say, okay, I'm inside now, you can come back.
Do you remember Blaine, Alex, in that recording? Where my son was, they were throwing big rocks. You could hear him hitting right and rolling right to the tent.
Is that the one where he's like, "Hey, buddy"?
He's like, "Hey, buddy, just can you cool it a little bit?" It's
Yeah.
like 3 a.m. He's in the BWCA, and he's with his girlfriend, and she's just regular to dig her hands into his wrist, fear. And he's like, "Hey, buddy, can you?" I can't remember what he said. Can you relax a little bit? It's okay.
Not
But
gonna
my
happen.
son's talking to him. But these rocks could have killed him. I mean, they were big enough. They were
They were
big
big,
rocks, like
yeah.
this big. It's tunk right by the tent and rolling. But, and I've had so many rocks thrown near me, ricocheting off, but they always roll up to my feet gently. And I think, you have I have so much respect for them, the restraint. They have a lot of restraint. And I always tell people, I think they also operate on some fear, like black bears operate on fear. They're afraid of us. Don't you agree that they're afraid of humans?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Because you don't know what a human will do.
Yeah.
They've been taught to watch and learn, and until they observe you from a distance, they knew you were coming in there well before you were even going there. And I have a friend that I did something with twice, and she had an interaction. She was a psychic medium, and the last time that I met up with her, we were going out to do a location with a witness who was going to take us around his area, around his home, to show us what was going on. He was having activity. And so I asked her, I go, "Do you know what's going on?" She goes, "Oh, yeah, 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 he knows we're coming." And when we got there, she says, "Look at that tree over there. Look at the energy coming off that tree." I go, "That tree is special to this area." And she goes, "There's a little one that comes out, and he does circles around this tree, and he even climbs it. And then the mom follows in behind to watch her. And then the little one, he'll take off. He'll go to the edge of the property, the edge of this pasture, by the tree line, and then come back and then play around the tree while mom watches. And then the father stays back over here and watches out for them to make sure that nobody drives up on them." And I was like, "Wow." I go, that's pretty detailed. And so we talked to the witness's mom, and the witness's mom comes out, and she goes, asking us what we were doing and everything, and told we were here there to visit her son. And then I asked her the question. I go, "Have you had Bigfoot, Sasquatch on this property?" And then she took 2 steps back into her door. And it was really strange because I knew she had, just by her reaction. And so she comes back out, and she goes, "2 days ago, see that tree right over there? It's the same tree, same oak tree, maple tree that this person had pointed out. There was a little one that went walking over there and did circles around it, climbed it for a while, and then took off to the edge of the property over the base of that hill by the fence. And the mom came out behind and was watching, circled the tree a couple of times, watched the little one, and the little one came back and climbed the tree. And then she goes, then back over here, I heard this, ah. The dad was watching from the tree line over the other two as a protector. Now, this is the next level that could be what you guys are looking for, is understanding that this does happen. And I've witnessed it a couple of times. And it floored me, the detail that I was told before we even found out about that spot.
It's crazy. I mean, I hate to keep talking, but we had them come up, and this is last year. They'd jump up on the porch. It'd be a number of them. They sound like young ones. And every time they'd come, they'd kick this orange bucket that was up on the porch. That's how I knew they were up there. It was kind of their announcing they're up there. And you can hear them just running around. Then you hear a big one running up. Then you'd hear one running around the back, and they'd slam the back of the cabin. And then one big one, must have been awful tall, took its hand, and at 14 feet up in the air went boom, 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 boom along the outside rafters on the cabin. But once again, harmless, kind of, playful. And it was on a dark night with no moon. Does that make them more likely to approach people on a no moon night?
It's funny that you bring this up because I've been working with somebody on a habituation at her place, and I told her, I go, let's keep track of the moon phases, and for 3 months I sent her the calendar, and I said, when they approach your house, you circle what the moon phase was at that time. And the reason that this is coming forth is because she didn't live in a timbered area. This was all grassland. So for me to trying to figure out that very question, we needed to know if they needed total cover of darkness in order to move around. And once after those 3 months, she sent that back to me and I started looking at it. Sure enough, they would not approach on a full moon out in an open grass area around her house because they didn't want to be seen. So from like a quarter moon to no moon was when they were showing up. So I would send her the map or the calendar for the following month, and sure enough, it was repetitive on when they were coming, and the type of activity that she was having was coming around her house, looking in the windows, rubbing their hands across the outside of the house, and then she would go out the next morning and see the foot tracks, and she started sending me the foot tracks, and then we found the trail, or she found the trail that where they started coming into the property.
Let's see. Thorndike. No, I'm too afraid to look out the window. Can hear them out there? No, just can't. I go, please, I'm trying to tell myself, do that. It's like trying to jump off a cliff right into a lake. And I'm trying to get the courage up, and I just can't bring myself to look. I can hear them out there, and I don't have the courage. And it's as crazy as that sounds. And I'm not sure I'd see anything anyhow because it's so dark out there. I'll be damned if I'm going to shine a flashlight on them.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you don't want to do that.
No, that could be. I mean, that I would imagine they could lose their temper. Do you agree?
Oh yeah, I agree on that. Yeah, we found out that people have shined lights at them. They did not like it, and the type of encounters went to a subtle to a different interaction because of that flashlight.
All right, so Mel, give me the bullet points on their personality. Try to describe 5 bullet points of their personality. I know you've said in past, I'm going to start it out, that they're almost like a purest form of human.
Yes, because they from a young age are taught, just like we teach our children, the rights and wrongs of society, the interactions in the woods. They show the same traits as we talk amongst each other, the interactions that they have. They show hunting skills, they show collecting skills of foods and of medicinal plants.
Okay.
They show routes of travel, which shows movement into different areas as they follow the foods as they come into seasons. And I've seen and heard them at the 8,000 foot level of Mount Adams in the snow in the middle of summer when the temperatures are hot. So it
So they
it
like to
hit.
be comfortable, just like
Hmm.
we do.
Hmm. And it's they live and thrive for where they are at because the teachings that they have, just like our teachings here, as we grow to adults, to either be respectful, and it's all a village that takes care of these little ones. It's a village
So
that
they're
brings
like a
them up and show.
tribe.
Yes, yes. And so take that for whatever you want, but they are, without all the distractions that we have as you and I pass this over the internet and go over our phones, drive our cars, fly across the country, listen to stories of whatever from other places. They are the purest in their environment,
Would you describe them as disciplined?
highly disciplined from a very
Highly.
young age.
Okay.
Yes.
So good discipline. Do you think they're loving?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I've seen tracks in the snow to show the interactions between the moms and the little ones and how well protected they are. I've been around the little ones in camp as the largest one or female male has watched everybody, making sure that everybody's in the tent while they go out and explore and learn new things. You know, the coolest interaction that I've heard was wife and I were out and we had this awning that had instead of a zipper, it had magnets. And so we set this up, just bought it, put our kitchen inside there, and then turned in for the night. And there was no wind. There was We were the only ones on this dead end road. And as we're laying down, my wife could hear them walking, the big one walk up with the ever so slightly crunch of the rock and the gravel. And we waited 15 minutes before he did this, and then he did this with his other foot before he moved. And that's how they're able to watch and be careful with their movements with people. Because what I started doing is to show that we were fully awake and we were fully aware who was out there. But I'm laying down and I'm snoring, and I continued to snore and then he took 10 minutes later, then he took another step. So he went from the front of
Wow.
at the front of the tent about 15, 20 feet to the other side of the tent.
One step in 15 minutes.
Yes.
That's caution.
And so then we heard other footsteps in the area. And the other footsteps did was they went over to the awning. And like I said, these are magnets, so they're closed. And what we heard was the separation of the magnets, the click, 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 click.
Okay.
And then they let it go, and then clack, 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 clack. And then we heard click, 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 click.
They did it again.
Clack, 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 clack. Click, 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 click. And they clack, clack. And they did that and so that was just, there was two entryways and they both
How
had
many times did they do that, Mel?
The two they knew us when we came back, and they did it on our return trip about 2 weeks later. So like I said, they remember people that come back into
No,
the
I
area.
realized, but how many times did they open and close those magnets?
This went on for like 2.5 to 3 hours. Just this click, 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 click.
Okay. The reason I want to
nonstop.
mention is Christopher Noel was the first to describe them as, it for lack of better words, autistic behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Because I heard them once come up on a porch in a very remote cabin. I was with Blaine's brother, or Alex's brother Blaine, and they would open and close the recycling bin for the aluminum, like 40 times, and then go over and do the glass one 40 times. Then walk down the porch, mess with the Velcro, come back up and start all over again. And I went, wow.
Yeah, they're learning.
They're learning, but it's kind of like they like that repeating, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Repetition.
Repetition.
And again, to us it's ordinary. So magnets to this area, they've never had this type of interaction with this before.
That was a really interesting story.
Yep.
And so we're going to add patience to that list.
Yes.
Patience. Okay. So we have intelligence, patience. You said they were loving, caring, whatever word you want to use. What other terms would you use to describe these creatures, Mel?
Emotional? Would you use that?
Oh yeah, that's good.
Okay.
I would agree, but I don't know if Mel would.
I would, because your rock throwing incident. I had a coworker, and we had to go into an area to work on a plot, and it was about 70% slope, so it was like this. And so we had to walk down into the area, and when we got to this opening, this rock shelf, my coworker took a good sized rock, and then he threw it off rolled it off the edge, and then it started rolling and bouncing. And I told him, I says, there's something down there. I said, I just saw something go behind that tree down there. And so then he grabbed another rock, and then he rolled it, threw it off, and started rolling down, bouncing off the trees, and then into almost hitting the same spots. And I told him, I says, I'm going to go down and take a look at that, what that was. And so when I got down there, I found the impressions of about a 17 to 18 inch foot track. And so I saw it turn, and then it started going downhill. And then when I started following that, it broke branches on the way down that I didn't hear. And I was finding slide marks that were 10 to 12 feet long, with a stride almost equal to that, about 10 feet, as it was going down the hill, the heel hitting and it sliding, and then its next step hit and then slid down. And then it hooked off to the left. And I was like, wow, I go, this guy really wanted out of here. I mean, he took off so fast. And so I started walking back up, and I saw my coworker, and it started measuring the strides and looking at everything again. And then I looked up again, and I saw him, and he was running. And then he turned and started running down towards me, and he got to me, and he was out of breath. And I go, what's up? What's going on? He goes, you didn't hear that. I was like, no, I didn't hear anything. I said, I saw you kick that rock loose. And he goes, no, you didn't hear it. I said, no. I said, I saw you kick the rock loose. He goes, I didn't kick that rock loose. That rock was thrown at me. And I went, what? And then he goes, yeah, it was thrown at me. He says, I looked up because I heard this, la, la. And I looked up above me, and I saw this rock. It had an arc to it. And he says, it wasn't pushed. It had an arc to it. And it landed right next to me, and it started rolling. And then that's when I started running towards you.
Wow.
And so I went running up there above him where he told me where it was. And then I couldn't find any impressions because of the soils. It was all rock. It was lava rock. And so, we end the day, we're walking back out of there, and he, asked me, he goes, you said that these things never hurt anybody, that they don't do this. And he goes, what happened? And I told him, I said, who rolled the rock down the hill? I said, you did. And I told you something was down there, and then you threw another one down there. And when I went down there, it was gone. It didn't see me throw the rock down the hill. It saw you, circled right back above you, and then said, you're going to throw a rock at me? I'm going to throw a rock at you. And that's exactly how it went down.
Jeez.
And so he doesn't roll rocks down the hills anymore.
He doesn't do that, does he?
No.
Jeez. So, what are some other traits here? Obviously, they have super abilities, meaning super strength. You
Well,
agree with that?
I don't say they have super strength. They're adapted to the environment. You and I, Alex, you, me, we have to go work out. We got to go running every day to keep our bodies
Yeah,
in shape. They're out there doing that every day.
yeah.
So
But
I don't
they're
call
really strong. Do you
right.
agree?
Yeah, I mean, so are gorillas, and
Yeah. No,
so
I
are
know.
chimpanzees because they're adapted to their environment.
Yeah,
They work with their hands. They got to move, and so if we were reverted back to that, like before horses and before everything else, we would be in that condition as well.
I still doubt we'd be as strong as a Bigfoot. Oh man. So, would you say they're predictable or unpredictable in their general behavior in the forest?
That depends on the age of the ones that you're dealing with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean the older ones, the ones that are watching over everyone, kind of has an idea the type of interaction that they want to happen, or what the signs that they're looking at for the humans that they're around. So it just depends on experience, the experience level, because there's this story that happened to me in an area here in Central Washington that I went out camping. I was waiting for the wife to show up, and I'm sitting in my car, and I hear something walking on the opposite side of the road coming down the hill. And I'm listening to it, and it's bipedal footsteps. And so I knew I had a Bigfoot there. But I sat there and I listened, and all of a sudden I had two of them. And the reason I knew I had two of them was because when they're walking and snapping the brush underneath the weight of their bodies, I heard, and I'm laying there in my car because I had all the windows open, and then I heard, and I'm hearing these two interact with each other, and they're just walking like they're going out to dinner, just talking back and forth, stepping, talking, and then they heard a vehicle coming up into the area that we were in, and I heard it. And so they diverted their attention to go to the only entryway into that lake. And I got out of my car, and I could hear them going towards the junction of the road where it crested over into the lake. And I was right behind them on the road, and I heard them just and they're just talking away, and I was like, wow. I've never had heard two of them interact like this as they're walking and then moving away from me. And then the car got up into that turnout, and it stopped, and then these two went from to the two guys got out of the car, and I could hear them talking. This lake, I've only been here a couple of times, but we're going to go up this road and we're going to go this way. And then these two were, and so they finished up what they were doing. Both doors closed, and then they took off. And then as soon as they got away from them, then and I was like, wow, did I just witness this? I mean, this is crazy. And so I'm like, hear them coming back towards me because I'm on the road, they're up above me, and I'm ahead of them, and my vehicle is back over that way. And then I hear them walking, snap, and I hear them talking. I was like, I gotta get going. So I'm walking on the road ahead of them. And so I'm going to ask you guys this. How many stories have you heard of, did you guys hear that? And then it gets quiet. The Sasquatches get quiet, and then nothing, right?
Well, I can honestly say we just recorded some kind of a weird talking
Hmm.
up at Snell. Finally, we got this
Hmm.
talking audio. It's
Yeah.
gibberish. David's been analyzing it, but it's
Yeah.
crystal clear, right?
Would you say it's like similar kind of to what he experienced?
It's I don't know. I've never heard anything like it. I can just tell you we almost got tears in our eyes because we were monitoring these cameras with audio live
Hmm.
that were around the cabin that we had hidden.
Yeah.
And
What?
this, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you,
Oh,
Mel.
no, no. So the classic is, people are walking and then they hear footsteps or something down below them, around them, and then
Yeah.
they stop and then that stops. So I had this scenario
But
going
it's
on.
almost like they were arguing a little bit. The two Bigfoots were kind of disagreeing a bit. Would you agree?
I think they were just interacting, and it's
Just
just
interacting.
their loud voices makes it sound like they're,
Yeah,
angry with
okay.
each other.
See, I've heard that where they're at Snell, the first time the cabin got attacked, they were outside and they sounded like they were arguing.
Hmm.
Like you could hear them doing exactly what you just did, only a little quicker.
Yeah.
Like they were arguing. I could hear one running up on the roof. And it seemed to me, once again, I don't know, that they were yelling at their young one because it was
Yeah.
up on the roof.
Get off
They
the
weren't
roof.
yelling at me.
Yeah.
They were yelling at, is that possible?
It's possible to get direction. I mean, you're yelling at your kid, get off there, you're gonna hurt yourself, or you're gonna
Ex-
fall through the roof, or whatever.
I could distinctly hear two individuals,
Mhm.
and it sounded like a little chimpanzee, like they were mad,
Mhm. Yeah.
like they were angry, and I couldn't tell if they were angry at me or what they were. They were angry at the cabin. So what I had done is I had walked up to the back facing the forest, and there was a solar-powered fluorescent light above my head. It's like 3 a.m. This is after we had had a gentle rock exchange for hours. Very gentle. Throw one, they'd throw lobbing, underhanded. And this underhanded exchange went on for literally like 2 hours.
Mm.
And then there was a splash into the lake with a big rock, and then whoever it was left.
Yeah.
Well, then I couldn't, we all went back into the cabin, and I'm sitting there reading a book by a tea candle, very, in this cabin, dark. And then I walked up to the sink. I was going to brush my teeth, and they have a little electric pump solar that pumps lake water through the sink. And I flipped the light on, and all hell broke loose, Mel. It was because here I am at the window, lit up.
Hmm.
Gray hair, white hair. It scared I don't know if I scared them. Is that possible that I startled them?
Yeah. Yep. I mean, they don't like light, and
No.
so they don't want to be exposed. Or, I mean, when you turn light on somebody else, they've got to go like this in order to get their night.
But I
Yeah.
was suddenly lit up, and they might
Yeah.
have been face to face with me looking at my ugly face through
Yeah.
through that window.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like I startled them, but all hell broke loose, man. They was screaming amongst themselves. Rocks were being thrown. I could hear brush being thrown up on the roof. Hear something running up on the. I mean, it was kind of. Then they started lifting the cabin off the foundation and rocking it.
Wow.
So yeah, that was
Yeah.
it was like being in a bad movie.
Wow. Yeah. I'd say you really upsetted them.
Something, once again, it sounded like they were upset at a kid that was up on the roof.
Hmm.
Like something,
Yeah.
like maybe I scared the kid up on the roof.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, mama bear, and cub situation.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
Who knows? But
Yeah.
all I know, it was a very scary 2-3 minutes of my life. Thought I was going to die. Thought I was
Yeah.
going to die. And that's why I've been going up there ever since, because every time we go up there, we have interactions.
Mhm.
Yeah,
God, I'd love to take you up there. Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, I've been invited to a lot of places and have helped a lot of people with their interactions with them, and I enjoy it. Whatever I've learned, I'm passing it on to everyone
Yeah.
else, and they've enjoyed it, and so it's I'm at that position now where you know, we want that interaction to be natural, to be gentle, and respect is the biggest thing that I've always pushed. Introduce yourself. Hey, my name is Mel. I'm here to camp. I have my wife. I have my 2 grandkids. You know, let them know what you're doing, and then you will, you know, you create that energy, that positive energy.
But do you think they understand what you're saying, or
Oh yeah,
just the vibe of what you're saying?
oh yeah, oh no, they understand what I'm saying,
You
and
mean you mean the language? I'm trying to nail you down.
yes, yes, they do understand the language.
How?
Yes, it's it's something I have not figured out yet, but
Okay.
it's the tools that I use that I when I go out, you know, I learned a hard lesson, and I was taught by my elders about this respect that I'm sharing with you.
Yes.
When we're out in the woods, if we're hunting and they're around, we leave that animal for them because it's hard. It's easy for us because we can just shoot down it and take it out. And so we are taught to leave that behind for them, especially with the medicinal plants and the berries. If they're around, we just raided their refrigerator, to say. And so we take it and we leave it. And so that's the respect that most um, tribal elders teach the young ones.
Right.
And they try telling me at a young age, or when I first started this, to leave them alone. You don't need to go looking for them. You don't need to do this with them. You just let them be. And I wanted more. And then that's when I left the reservation to go find the researchers. Well, I went against all elders' words, and then this energy was attached to me. I used to go to these gatherings, not powwows, but gatherings of longhouses, religious areas. And part of our culture is to introduce yourself. When you walk into the building, you walk around and you shake everybody's hand. You tell them hello that way. And then when you introduce yourself, I say, hey, I'm Mel Skahan. My mom is Patricia Gowdy. My father's George Skahan. My grandparents, my great grandparents. I geek out and it's like, oh yeah, I know who you are. I know your family. You know, that's how the elders know who you are. And it's the same thing that you do out in the woods. Hi, my name's Mel Skahan. Da, 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 da. You know, it's the teachings that that you know create that respect. So, and along the way, I lost it, and I found this nest. I found this nest while working, and this was a looked like a large bird nest. And I went over to it, and I examined it, and everything had been woven together. And what was interesting about this nest was that it wasn't from the branches that had built this was not the same trees that were in the area. There were ponderosa pine trees, and this was a grand fir tree. So this did not come from that spot. These branches were brought in from another location to construct this. And so once I started examining it, I trying to figure out why this was built right here. And then as I looked down the slope, you could see the main road down below about 3/4 of a mile. And I figured, oh, well, this is like a century spot so that they can keep an eye on who's coming in and who's going out, knowing the last vehicle that had come through the area. And once it leaves, then they're safe to move about. So I put that together, and then, and then I started going through everything again. And then I started finding these hairs that were inside the nest. And I pulled a few of those hairs out and I showed them to the coworkers. I had 2 coworkers with me. And then I made an envelope out of the paper that I had and then put them away and then put them in my desk. And then I would have people come to ask, well, I want to see your hairs. You ever think about having them tested? I was like, I already know what did this. I already know what made that nest, so I don't need to have these tested. And I told him, I says, once you send these hairs off to get tested, then you don't get them back. They keep them.
Yeah.
And so it sat in my desk for 4 or 5 years, and I attended this outing, this there was a house cleansing ceremony that was happening, and a spirit in the house was bothering somebody, a little girl in the house, and in they had tried a couple of different ways to get this spirit out of the house, and they couldn't do it. So they sought a higher power, a medicine man, to come in, and then when he came over, we gathered about 20 to 25 people to be participants in this event to help the people in the home. And he laid out the ground rules that, we had to cover the windows so it was completely black, and then we'd be sitting on the floor, and then during the ceremonies we always have gifts to pay the witnesses there, and we also have a dinner after everything is done.
Okay.
And so his instructions were, we're going to cut the power and it's going to get completely black here. And if anybody's afraid of the dark or afraid of ghosts or spirits, because he says, what we're going to attempt here is the other people that were here tried to drive the spirit out. We don't do that. We ask the spirits outside the home to come in and then kind of guide the one that's here out. And you may get visits from past family members, friends, and they'll make contact with you, whether they want to talk to you or just tap you on the shoulder or brush against you. So don't be alarmed. But if you're afraid of that, then we're going to have you leave. And so a couple people had gone. And so he goes, all right, well, we're going to get started here. And so he asked somebody to go cut the power. So he cut the power at the junction box, and completely black. Go like this. You can move your hand, not even see it. It was so dark in there.
It was pitch black.
It was pitch black, and I had two people on the other side of me. I had a lady and I had a guy on my right side. And the first song started out, gentle song, opening, and nice and calm. His voice was regular. And the second song started, and a vibration started from his location where I knew he was sitting directly across from me. A vibration started, like somebody threw a pebble in the water, and you could feel that vibration coming. I could feel it coming towards me in the floor, and then it was directly under me, behind me, up into the wall, and then dissipated into the ceiling.
Could you hear it at all, or just
I
feel
could
it?
I could hear it and I could feel it.
Did it sound like a hum? Like
It
a
was
hummingbird wing?
it was a hum, and
David, take note. We're
Yes,
David Ellis and I have been working on a project where we're trying to get this out, that there's a hum associated with these creatures at times,
mhm.
like a hummingbird wings almost, that you can feel. But it's very interesting. Does that coincide with what?
Well, this was a man doing this, and it wasn't a Sasquatch doing it. But
Okay.
I've not heard that hum. I've heard the growls like I've done to you, done for you,
Right.
and I've felt the vibration and then felt the
Okay.
tingling going through me at the time.
So, but who's humming? Is this a spiritual hum?
No, it's something that he's projecting to, and I think it was to cleanse the room.
I know,
we
but
were
how
in.
is he doing that?
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay.
No, I don't know how
Okay.
he's doing this, but
All
I
right, I'm
hear
going to
it.
shut up. Keep going.
And so he's banging the drum and he's singing, and he's got his wife and his son with him, and they're singing the song, and then through the beat of the drum noise, I feel it and I hear it, and then go up, and then after it was done, I leaned over to my left and I asked the lady, I go, is it just me or the floor is vibrating? And she goes, yeah, the floor was vibrating. And so I wasn't the only one. Everybody had felt it. And so the third song was when this started getting really crazy, because under pitch blackness, the voices the three drummers, the family, changed to a higher pitch, and the beat was faster. And so, not knowing what to expect next, sitting in pitch darkness, sitting on the floor, arms crossed, and eyes closed, trying to feel what's going on. The song started, and then I hear, "What?" And I'm like, "No way." And I'm thinking to myself, I said, "I know, I've heard that before. I know who that is." And so I go, "If you are who I think you are, you'll whoop for me." And a couple beats of the drum, "Whoop." And I'm like, "Oh, no way."
That whoop. You hear? Can you do that again?
Yeah. Yeah. You want a louder one?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a whoop. And I just like, I know, how is this happening? He's singing, drums beating, and then I hear boom, boom, boom. Something is walking from the back room down the hallway, and I can hear the steps. Boom, boom, boom. And as it got into the living room where we were all at, he started moving, and I could hear him move to the left. Boom, boom, and he was jumping to the beat of the drum. Boom, 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 and he'd come back over to the right, and he was. You said that you thought you heard yelling. Well, I heard a loud voice that could have been yelling, but I heard, he's jumping and he's letting me have it. Boom. And he's getting right in front of me, and I'm like this, and there's nothing I can do. I'm right against the wall. All this stuff is in the middle. I've got people all around me, and he's like, and he's jumping. And this song went on for about 3-4 minutes of him just jumping and then screaming or loud talking to me. And then as the song ended, I heard boom, 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 boom. And he walked back into that back room again. And then when the song was over, I was like, I didn't know what to do. And what I just experienced, I've never heard before. And I leaned over to the person to the left, and I was like, trying to figure out what's going on. She goes, "Why did you touch me? Why did you whisper in my ear?" And I was like, "Yeah, it wasn't me. That wasn't me." So the final song, the cleansing song, the ending song had ended, and then he asked the lights to come on, and then after everybody got their vision back, he started going around the room saying, "You had so and so visit you. You had so and so visit you. You had so and so visit you." And then he got to me and he goes, "You have something attached to you that you shouldn't have. You do something.
Whoa.
You do something that you're not supposed to be doing. And you also collected something that you shouldn't have." And then somebody yelled out, "Oh, he's got hair." And so I was like, "Well, yeah, I do have hair." And when everything was said and done with about me, he goes, "You come to me at the end of this." He goes, "I will show you how to correct this situation." So I talked to him afterwards, and then he goes, once I tell you this, once I let you know what's going on here, you're not going to be ignorant in your ways anymore, and that you're going to be totally respectful of everything that you do. And if you violate these rules that have been set forth, he says, I can't help you. This is going to be between you and them or him. And I was like, okay. So he laid out the steps that I needed to do. He goes, when you leave to go do this, you cannot tell anybody. You just go back out to the site, and then you perform what I'm going to these instructions that I'm going to give you. And so it took me about 3 weeks before I was able to gather everything, and then I went out, walked straight out of the house, didn't tell anybody where I was going, drove to the area, hiked down into the spot, started doing the steps that he had given to me, and when I was all done with it, and then I projected out. I didn't say aloud. There's my cat. I projected out. I've given you what you wanted back. I go, are we good? And then I heard, whoa! And I put my hands up in the air, and I was like, I don't speak Sasquatch, but I'm taking that we're good.
Right.
And then I put everything in my bag, and then I walked back up to my car, and then I drove out of the area, and ever since, my relationships with them have been changed.
So you returned the hair.
I returned the hair, yes.
Why would they not want you to have their hair?
I was told by him that he didn't want to be known.
Okay.
He didn't want his DNA, whatever people do with them, and I wasn't going to do that, but he
That's
wanted it
interesting.
back.
That's interesting. Well, I'm a bad guy, Mel. I'm right now within just feet, 2 or 3 feet of a lot of supposed Bigfoot hair from different sources, including ones I collected, including one I brought back from Snow Grove.
Yeah.
That was stuck to the door on the hinge. And I do, you do wonder about that. But then I'm like, you left it there. My intentions are good. I have no bad intentions with that hair. I still think, do you think only bad can come of them being accepted by science? Do you think any good can come from that?
No, nothing has ever come good of science for anything. For
Okay.
anything.
I asked the question. And you gave
What
me
about
the answers.
microwaves?
What about microwaves? What if you do the wrong step with a microwave? What's going to happen to you?
Yeah, that's true. Alex, go put a pie plate in there made out of metal and see what happens.
I learned something as a child. You don't want to put a bagel in the microwave for 12 minutes.
No. So, see, now I'm feeling guilty, Mel.
Oh, no. I did this.
Well, just hang on. I want to hear your reaction. But I had a man come over today who was with me at Snell. He said, I was just getting ready to come over to your house, and my home was being hit by small rocks. And I went, what? He goes, I can't explain it any other way, but my windows and the siding were getting hit by small rocks. He said, clearly it was rocks. And I'm like, and he goes, all he was doing was getting ready to come over to come see you. And I'm like, well, what the hell does that mean? That's the end of the story. But no, you can react to that if you want.
Yeah.
Is that what you're kind of talking about?
Right. The intention. You have something of theirs that they probably want back, unless it's gifted to you. And I can attest to this because 2 months ago, I was at a conference, and another presenter was showing me what he was going to talk about. And he has a gifting station that he's had interactions. He's got tracks, he's got casts, and then he also was gifted hair. The hair was placed under an object so that it wouldn't blow away. And so he goes, yeah, it's right here if you want to take a look at it. So I picked it up with my right hand. It was in a small glass vial. And then I turned it and I looked at it. And then I grabbed the top, the lid. And I was getting ready to turn, and then the 3 fingers that I was holding the lid with burned. It burnt me, and then it sent a shock that went as far as my wrist. And I let go of it, and I handed it back to him immediately. And he goes, I've never, ever, ever. He says, I've shown this to a lot of people. this is the first time that it's ever done that. And he goes, this is still hot. This bile is still hot, and it's not cooled down.
Wow.
And I said, well,
Still hot.
that's an authentic hair. And then my wife goes, you know better than that. You're not supposed to be handling that stuff just because of the story I just told you.
Well, is it possible that maybe your elders, the people that are your relatives, made some kind of pact with them, or you know what I mean? Where maybe I'm free, I have no problems with it, or am I? I mean, I'm really you're making me think.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's all the way you were brought up in your belief system.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, and I was taught at a very young age where you probably weren't about them. And then,
No, it
the
wasn't.
steps I had to go through, and then the wrong that I did. And then, my elders telling me, you'll never get a picture. You'll never have this. You'll never do this. You'll never prove it. You'll never. And, I should have listened to him. Well, if I didn't listen to him, I wouldn't be who I am right now.
No, Bob is he's part native, isn't he?
Right. Yep.
He got, he was with Roger, and they got that incredible film footage. Which, what are your thoughts on it? Real?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100% real.
So, and it was done with a
I've-
film camera, and it was done with a quick trigger and all this stuff. Do you think that was a gift to them?
It could have been. I mean, I don't know either one of them. And, the story for me is that, if you look, I mean, with the tribe, if you look at their eyes, view them, and they look at you, the story is that, the legend is that you'll have bad luck. But, I've proven that it is not. And that's why I want to continue to do this to get rid of those little negativities that a lot of my tribe has about them, and show that we all existed together at one point, and we lived and we traveled and we did all this before our worlds had changed.
Yeah. How do you top that last story? So
You can't.
So was that like a spirit of a Sasquatch that came to? Did anybody else hear that stuff?
Nobody heard that.
Only you.
It was only directed at me.
But it was as real as if it was right there.
Yep. I mean, what I was experiencing, I thought everything in the center of that room, the food, the gifting items, were going to be destroyed, and none of it was.
But
touched.
you did hear a hum associated with that that night.
Yeah, I heard the hum during the second song coming towards me.
Okay, so you did hear something associated with what you believe to be a Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. A Bigfoot in its spiritual mode.
Right. Yeah.
Versus, yeah.
Yeah, he made communication with me, and
It was funny because my mom, the moment she found out I was going to start doing this research 35 years ago, she goes, they're interdimensional, don't you? Like, where did that come from?
Right.
All right, Mom, let's sit down. Let's have a talk. What do you know?
It was just like that. She said that to me, and I'm like, okay. My mom was a wise person, but I didn't take her real serious when she told me that. But there, we all have these things where I would not rule that out at all. There's no way I would rule it out, because I think we're just being completely big-headed to think we know anything.
Yeah. I mean, you started out as a skeptic, and what did you need for yourself in order to change that view?
I never was skeptical of them, ever, for some reason. When I remember laying eyes on the Patterson-Gimlin photo from the film when I was a child, I was like 10, and there it was on the cover of Boys Life magazine. And I could tell that was real. And ever since then, I've just been very accepting of their existence.
Yeah.
Just accepting.
And I had numerous talks with with Bob because Bob was an old family friend of my great grandfather.
Oh,
And
wow.
so he, as a young man, would work on his property. And so when I met Bob for the first time back in 2004, he knew the last name, Skahan.
Wow.
And so after that, we've been really. He calls me his son, and I call him dad, and I
Uh,
call Judy my mom, and so that's
that's so awesome. Bob is such an honorable man.
oh yeah, yeah,
I try to get that across to people, and they don't understand. I'm like, that man has got honor.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And he's going to be was it 93 this
Yeah.
year, and he doesn't do conferences anymore.
No.
And but we have our local Yakama Bigfoot conference, and this is our third year. Our one coming up in October 26th. I talked to Judy, and Judy says he can't do conferences, and so I said, well, we'll do a meet and greet where he can be in Yakima, 45 minutes from home to be able to come out, spend a couple hours with people, and then go home. Even that is trying on him, and but so for this year we do
Well,
health-wise
I went to
get him.
Bluff Creek. I went to Bluff Creek for the first time with Bob that he had ever been back there to the site, the film site. I couldn't keep up with the man.
Yeah,
Man, he was like, holy crap, he was in shape.
yeah. He's solid. Give him a
And
handshake or just he's
that's
solid.
a guy that's been working for a living. Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
And it's quite sad. It's just sad anytime getting older and aging and our DNA kind of going to hell. But boy, I'll tell you, if anybody's going to live to 110,
100.
Bob.
Yeah.
It'll be him.
And I told him a long time ago. I said, Bob, you're going to be at my funeral. I said, I'll never be at yours. You'll be at mine.
Yeah, no, he's quite a man.
I'm sure he got a kick out of that.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
And then what did he say? I know. Just
Yeah.
kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah.
So what do you think they are, Mel? In one word. Come on, I'm going to give you one word. Describe them in one word.
And then I want you to define that word.
Yes.
Are we talking about Bob or are we talking
No.
about
No. I could describe one word with Bob. I'd just say honorable.
Mm-hmm.
But go ahead and describe Bigfoot in one word if you could.
One word.
Yeah. Challenge.
Wow. Challenge. Wow. One word. I don't think I could do that. I guess I would just say, what I've known about them for the longest time is that they're family.
Family. Okay. That's pretty interesting. That's a good answer, Mel.
Mm-hmm.
That's really a good answer. Yeah, to me, they're awe-inspiring. I know that's two words, but and I often do. Do you ever think about the fact that if they're humanoids like us, which I believe they're human on very many levels, they don't need anything, nothing. Not a screwdriver, not a rock. They really don't need anything, and that's alone. You have to look up to a hominid like us that doesn't need anything.
Yeah, they don't even need us.
No, they don't need anything. They don't destroy anything.
Mm-hmm. No.
They only help the environment. They don't hurt it. And we as humans, it's kind of sad, isn't it? I mean, I'm having a root beer and it's in a tin can. Yeah, I'm going to throw it in the recycling bin, but I don't know if it's really going to get recycled.
Right.
We really are wasteful species. And some of it's not our fault. I'll order something, and I'll think, oh, it's just going to come, the product. And it's in a box and a box and a box and a wrapper and another piece of plastic. And I'm just like, come on, people.
Yeah. And I've always told people too, I says, what are you guys taking out into the woods? well, we got this latest tent or this latest RV or trailer, and then we're going to go up. And I was like, you know what? I go, that's what they look forward to. How things have changed. What's new coming out? Like we look towards consumer reports, or we look towards what's the new toys, or what's the latest invention that is going to get me to do more work or make it easier for me. That's what they look forward to when people show up, and they get to see that and interact with it and learn about it. And that's what I always tell people. I says, once you do that, they're gonna know who you are, and your interactions with them when you go back in that same vehicle or same area is going to be great, because they're going to want to learn it.
Super interesting. Okay, do you mind taking a few questions, and we'll do
Sure.
a few questions from the
Sure.
chat, and then we're gonna cut you loose. I know we've already kept you way over here. So
It's not
Gary
past my
Johnson.
bedtime yet.
Oh, good. Well, Gary Johnson says, "Can you ask Mel why I was told his name in mind speak in the middle of the night?" I don't know.
That Gary was given his name in
Yeah,
my
Alex,
speak?
can you put that question up? Gary
Gary
Johnson, Sr. Can you ask him why I was told his name in mind speak in the middle of the night? Now, I don't know if he means the Bigfoot's name or your name.
Mhm.
I would
Well,
imagine.
well, they've called my name and out in the woods, and that was allowed, but it wasn't in mind speak. But you're always out someplace and somebody's calling you by your name, so that's how they're going to hear it, whether any place out in the woods that you are, or even at home, because of that connection that they're trying to make with you.
Yeah. And they do mimic amazing.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on that?
The stories that we have is to test their abilities. And I've had many stories here on the reservation where children have been playing by themselves, where the adults wouldn't be around, and they're testing their ability to try, excuse me, not to lure the child away, but to get the child's attention. And then the child hears that voice and thinking that it's one of their adults, not knowing, it's a Bigfoot Sasquatch forest person trying to, make that connection with them.
Interesting. Catherine Forfeather said, "Okay, Doug, this episode is my absolute favorite so far." So thank you, Mel.
Oh,
for
thank you
making
guys
it-
for inviting me.
For making it an episode that people really enjoy. Yeah, you're amazing, Mel. I'm just kind of going back here. I wasn't paying too much attention in chat. What do you know about them whistling?
Oh,
It comes
yeah.
from John Boatwright.
Yeah. I've heard the different whistles, and I've got a story about that, but I mean, this would take a long time.
Well,
But
just
it's
log line it. Just do it
yeah,
real short.
yeah.
Super
And
short.
so the whistling is the communication between two or three of them when they don't want that person who is not fully aware that they're around, and that they're communicating with each other. And but if you've been around them and understand that, hey, that bird is way too loud, or that bird doesn't make that sound, then you understand that it's them. So it's a communication. uh, I mean, I've heard the whistling, the wood knocks, the whoops, the howls, all at the same time on a camp outing, and there were 6 of them around us, and that's how all of them were communicating with each other.
And then Catherine wants you to listen to episode 515 of Sasquatch Chronicles, because it sounds, apparently there's something very similar to what you had told.
Okay.
So episode 515, Sasquatch Chronicles. Do you have any thoughts on autism in them? When I had mentioned this, so what some of the comparatives were hiding really well, liking order, like stacking rocks, organizing gifts. People have noticed maybe even organizing with tree structures. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, until there's an extensive thing with a group or an individual that can continue on that to be able to take the notes. I know one person that is doing that right now to understand the different glyphs that are being made in their exchange, and give that time for that person to continue to work with them, and then they'll be able to crack that code. But it's going to take time.
Mel, how long do you think the species live? And that's from Kevin Morrison.
Yeah, to the ripe age of what I am now, right around 50.
Okay.
Barring injury. I mean, they can't go medical. I mean, they the natural medicinal stuff that will only work so far until a leg goes out. And what I mean by that is that there was an individual, a 10-foot tall one, male, and he had a 22-inch foot, and he suffered an injury that caused us not to be able to track him very easy, because he was not stepping very well on a right foot, but clearly on a left. And so that made it difficult, because you're taking a 6 foot, you know, stride length to be able to follow him left, right, left, right. But then when you got one that has a hurt foot, then you're going to double that to 12 feet to be able to find left, 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 left. And so he had a female, he had a wife, he had a mate, and they also had a child. And I knew that child since he was this big, his 8-inch foot, and then knew him up until his 17-inch foot. And then that's
Wow.
when I started losing him. And then we weren't finding the large the massive 22-inch foot anymore. So I think he may have succumbed to his injuries. So barring injuries, the colorings that you see or hear from other people, he was pepper colored, he was graying, it could be 50, 55, 60 years old that they could live.
Wow. I saw one of the ones that me and Yvette saw. We got to watch it for quite a while, walking away from us. It had the most beautiful hair. It was black and white, black and white, black and white. I mean, it was just like almost like a bird feathers, because it was so speckled.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of that kind of? You had mentioned speckled, but this was just amazing. It was absolutely gorgeous. The speckling.
Yeah, it could have been, the sun shining off of his coat and everything. The one that I saw was completely black, and he was also kind of in that shimmering mode because of the movement that he was going through, and the muscle movement and the shoulder movement in the legs. And as he was going through the sun, that's exactly what you just described, was that shimmer, that bright light, because he was out in full sun. This was 1 o'clock in the afternoon when we saw him.
Wow.
And he was about 8 feet tall, and he was a male, and he was just ripped as ripped could be. And I mean, just full on muscle.
You saw it from the front?
Saw it from the side as he turned, because my
Okay.
coworker that was with me saw him full front. And when he turned to the left is when I saw him, and then he started running away from us.
Wow.
I got out, measured the stride length at 6, half a foot, and then 1 foot, 2 foot, and then up to a 12-foot stride on a full run. And when he hit that 12-foot stride, you wonder, how fast do they go? I've had stories of them doing up to 35 miles an hour chasing vehicles out of the woods.
35.
But this one that I had followed reached a 12-foot stride, and it was absolutely amazing to watch that built up a speed as he was going. And this is just on the ground. This was after the visual, to be able to see him run away and then come back and then start following that track line to see that each length of each stride that he had was, and then when he went over the plateau, then we left him alone.
All right, two last questions. Eric
Okay.
Sorensen and Sly Fox both want to know if you have any opinions on what they might do with their deceased.
I mean,
That's
the
a good question.
ceremonies like we all do. I mean, there could be a spot that has significant that is significant to them that they may go to. And I've seen plenty of bear. I mean, you always hear the story. You never find a bear. I'm the guy that worked in the woods. I seen dead bears all the time, skeleton,
Okay.
and the animals drop where they're supposed to because they don't have that instinct to pick up their dead and take them someplace. Just like we do, we have, even when a person has fallen there, we put them under. We put them underground. So you got to think that perhaps that because they are similar to us, that they do the same thing, is that they put them underground someplace.
Yeah, and of course the animals go in the deep, deer, bears, they go quite deep in the forest when they're dying,
Mm.
as if they want to be left alone. What was another question here? I'm looking if there's anything left in your question. Just throw it out there real quick at the bottom, and we'll see if we can get Mel to answer it. Yeah, people are just kind of going nuts in chat. A lot of chat activity. Do you think that we'll get any closer to figuring out kind of what they are a little more? Maybe it won't be science, but just more information. Or do you think it's just going to kind of stay where it is, or just not?
I think there are individuals that have the real good close communication with them are the ones that I've already been told who they are, where they are, and
Okay.
and so it's just the rest of the world. It's the rest of the community, the Sasquatch Bigfoot community has to catch up, because you're chosen is what is going on, what has happened.
Okay.
And the individuals that I've worked with that have had the interactions, they were chosen.
Like we're
They were,
talking intimate.
yeah, we're talking talking songs that are gifted people, and interactions that continually happen. And it's that situation, as they are called family and brought in and trusted, that relationship is going to build and more. And it's funny because this person that I was working with, I wanted to bring her into an outing to be able to be filmed, to be able to talk about what was going on. And her interactions were fine. And then once that was put out, that she was going to come in and do an interview and talk about her interactions with the group that had trusted her, it got violent. It intensified. Her house was being smacked harder. It was just total chaos that was starting to happen. And I called her up a couple days later, and I says, I think they know. They know you were going to say something, that you were going to talk about the relationship that you built with them. And I said, no interview. We're not gonna put this out there. And then she went out, sang the song that was gifted to her. Mine spoke to him, and then let him know. And then she apologized. That next day, the interactions went back to normal.
Interesting.
So they know, yeah, and they trust you for that relationship, and not to go outside of those boundaries.
Elaine Isabel asked, have you had any dogman encounters? Do you believe in dogman? Is there any, what are your thoughts on that and people that are seeing that?
Well, that's not in my region. We had gone down southwest to have some type of interaction that I could not explain. I was awake at the time, and we were out in full on desert, and It was a sound that I've not heard. Like it was more canine than anything, and so down there, yes. Up here, I don't know. I've never had that type of interaction.
Okay. Okay. How would people get a hold of you? Do you have a Facebook page or?
Yeah. I'm on Facebook. Just type in Mel Skahan,
There you go.
and that's it. I
Use
don't have.
Messenger.
Yeah. Just use Messenger. You got questions? If you live in the Pacific Northwest Seattle area, I'd be willing to, go out and work with you
Yeah.
and share the proper techniques in order to continue your venture.
Well, you're quite a man, Mel, and I'd love to get you back and love to talk more. And it's just it's fascinating.
Oh yeah. It's been great. I mean, I've enjoyed this life, and I want to continue down the path that I was told to lead.
Well, you're bringing a lot of interesting information to people, and certainly gave me some food for thought. Although I still know nothing. Not afraid to admit
Is that true, Alex? Come on.
I know nothing.
No, he knows more than he lets on.
I know he does.
No,
I mean, he's
know
been in
anything.
this a long time, and he's
All
talked
I
to a lot of
know
people.
is it's they have provided the world with one of the biggest mysteries in history.
Hmm.
And I tell people, skeptics, this is not going to go away.
No.
This mystery is here. It's not going away anywhere.
Well,
You can ignore it.
yeah, and I don't try to change a skeptic. Even with all the stories and interactions that I've had, I still don't try to change them.
Yeah. And do you think they want us to believe in them or do want us to not believe in them? I mean, believing in a creature is certainly power in it, and then not believing there's power in it. But would they rather us just not even think about them?
I mean, it just depends on the person, I think, and
Huh.
the people like you, Alex, myself, enjoy the interactions. I mean, I look forward to them. I look forward to learning something new from
Yeah.
them, and and I also told them, I says, I enjoy showing people to understand who they, how to find them, and how to, if they want that interaction, to build those relationships out there.
Yeah. No, I don't think there's any more fascinating creature on the face of the earth. Is all I can tell you.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
I'd love to get the courage someday to look one in the eye or to, have a face to face, but I haven't mustered that courage up yet.
Yeah.
And that does take courage, Mel.
It does, and the closest I've ever been to him is this.
Yeah. There was a car out back when I had Alex's office. There was a car that flipped over on the freeway. I could see it, and it just flipped over and it started burning. And I ran out the office door and ran out and pulled these people, including 2 kids, out of that car that was burning. And you don't even think about that stuff.
No, it's
Because I don't even know if that's courage. But to me, I can't muster the courage to open a damn curtain.
yeah, it's the unknown that you still have.
What is it?
Yeah, I understand too, because there are times where I'll be out in the woods and I'll hear the interactions, but you must have been alone when thinking of this. But you have your son or your wife or anybody else with you. You kind of got a little bit of courage going on there, and it's like, okay, well, maybe this time, maybe.
I don't know what it is. It may be respect too. I don't know. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
There's just a reason I don't want to throw back the curtain.
Yeah, I completely understand. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. On that, thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody in chat, and
Thanks,
all the
guys.
new faces I see in chat every week. And that's just, I can't tell you how much we need you, how much we appreciate you. And we will be back because we love you. We will be back next week same time. Even if we're too busy, we'll be here. And
We
Mel,
will
we got to
be
get you
here.
back. You'd be willing to come back?
Sure. Yeah. yeah,
Okay,
we're willing to come back.
awesome. It's just I could talk to you
Wonderful.
all night. And thank you, Alex. And by the way, you sound and look perfect. Your camera's perfect. Your mic is perfect, Mel.
What?
It's
Really?
so nice. Yes,
Oh,
to have
wow.
somebody that just looks and sounds so great. So
Well,
pro.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. You're a real pro. So anyhow, good night, everybody.
Good night,
And
everyone.
I do have a little wisdom I think I want to share. That true adventure is not outside, but it lies between your ears and your amazing thoughts and your imagination. That's where the real adventure is. So remember that, everybody. Have a great night. We'll see you all here next week. Same
Okay.
place, same time. Thanks, Mel.
Thank you,
Take
Doug.
care.
Thank you, Alex. Good night, everybody.
I call you up in the middle of the night. Been bothered by dreams, ain't feeling alright. You give me comfort, say just give it some time. By the end of our talk, I'm feeling just fine. You and I will